Fingers crossed that everything works today. Sometimes when it's been a while and I haven't been on a certain platform, be it YouTube, be it Twitch, whatever it may be, it doesn't work. So we're going to hope that it works today. I am back. Welcome to State of Games. Today we will be discussing predictions for the Game Awards 2021. That's what we're doing. Welcome. Grab a seat. We're going to do the 10-minute introduction. And then we're going to get into this. Angel, how's it going? We got Kojima up in the top there. How's it going? Jason, how you doing as well? Welcome to the chat. Please do get your thoughts together. We're not going to cover all of these today. We're not going to cover all of these. It is next week. So we can sort of go over this a little bit more again next week as well. But we're going to cover the sort of major ones. I don't want to touch on any of the esports ones. I don't think that's needed so much. But we're going to cover some of the major categories today. And we're also going to be talking a little bit about what do people want to see, because we know we're going to get a whole bunch of games trailers and news and updates and things like that as well. So we're going to talk a little bit about what people would like to see at the Games Awards in general. I will, of course, be streaming the Game Awards. I've applied for the co-stream thing. Should be approved for that. That should be all good to go. So it's going to be a good night. I will be streaming that on YouTube. As always, all events type things will be happening on YouTube. I'm still streaming on Twitch. I've taken the past 2 weeks off of making content creation in a general thing. I know I haven't been uploading too much onto YouTube in general recently as well. But I'm very much in a situation where I'm trying to get my head around what is the kind of content I want to make for the channel. I've done a lot of things over the course of the year, and there's things that I like, there's some things that I don't really like, but overall there's a lot of things that I do like, and I'd love to know from people what's some of your favorite content on this channel. I think definitely reactions and discussion things are going to stay. I think reviews maybe, but I don't know how people feel about that. Jason, thank you very much for subscribing to the channel. I massively appreciate that. Welcome to the Bamalam, man. I saw the message. I know what you're saying. Thank you very, very much for doing so. So, yeah, I would love some feedback just while we do this first little 10-minute introduction. But the main focus of today is to talk about the Game Awards 2021. Winnipeg Gamer, how are you doing? Jeffrey, how are you doing? Your short seems to get a lot of views. Well, I'm thinking, just a good point. I think as opposed to just uploading like the entirety of, say, like a stream from the night before, I think it's probably beneficial that I either just do a short little 5-minute highlights reel of some of the best bits, maybe an upload of just the best, like the best chunk, or just put it out as a short, like any of those little sort of memeable moments, I think work really well as short. So that's something that I think is a really good suggestion, and I thank you for that, Jeffrey. Also, I hope that you're doing well. I hope everybody's doing well. I haven't checked in with people enough in the recent times, but I genuinely do hope that everyone's been okay. So yeah, sometimes you've got to take some time out and look at your content and what you're doing, and I think the end of the year is probably a good time to do that. It's very much a time for reflection. December, lots of people break for Christmas and things like that, or the holidays as you want to call them, and you have times to reflect, and that's why people do New Year's resolutions. So I'm not really going to do New Year's resolutions moving into 2022, but I am going to do sort of like channel resolutions and what is it I want to achieve. I definitely still enjoy doing sketches and stuff, but a lot of my sketches have been very reactionary, and in a point in time where there hasn't been too much important gaming news really, there's not been much sort of sketches I can do. But again, this is all stuff that's on me. I just like to know from people what it is that you enjoy about the content on this channel. So yeah, I definitely think my pitch room, my PS5 pitch room things needs to come back as well, because I've got some really good ideas for some games moving forward, Damn, it feels weird being on YouTube again. Well, I promised that Wednesdays would be for YouTube. I also promised that at the end of the year I would review if I'm going to stream on Twitch or if I'm going to stream on YouTube completely. I still don't know where I stand with that, but I am really enjoying Twitch overall, at least for gameplay stuff. It seems to be the spot for it. But I could be wrong. All of this, we'll definitely do a sort of reflectionary stream at some point this month, and we'll sort of discuss all of these things properly. But just while we wait and we get people in for the, the first 10 minutes, I thought I may as well ask people, also ask you how you're doing and see what you're thinking and feeling. The Abandoned skit was amazing. That's it, man. Abandoned worked because it was a very much a current topic, and you know, I'm a big fan of using comedy around reactionary kind of stuff. It's something I have to do for my job a lot of the time, is looking at what's currently trending and how we can work off of that. And that's what a lot of my job has been, working in social media for the past 10 years of my life. So yeah, my only complaint is the YouTube chat lag. I completely agree. And it's also like, I don't know why I decided to make my discussional streams on YouTube when there's such a lack of response. Not a lack of response, but I mean, it takes so long that it becomes very difficult to have these sort of discussions, because we end up waiting. You know, you're waiting for me to read your message, I'm waiting for the message to come through, I then say something, you then say something, but there's like 30 to 40 seconds in between all of that, and that doesn't happen on Twitch. So I really hope they work out their latency issues over here on YouTube, because I think it's something that's very, very beneficial. I don't know if because it encodes it into being an upload afterwards that there's something to do with that. I'm not any sort of coder, so I can't really say. But yes, we are discussing the 2021 award ceremony. Most current topic is Activision versus Blizzard stuff, and that's not really sketch worthy. Exactly. Like, I don't want to do like distasteful kind of stuff, you know. I always feel like with comedy in general, if you rely on having to be outrageous, it just sort of shows your lack of creativity. I think there's definitely room to be outrageous and say outrageous things, don't get me wrong, but I think comedians that specialize just in shock value tactics really aren't that creative within what they're meant to be doing. You know, I think you need to be able to have a whole wheelhouse of different things. Obviously, someone like Dave Chappelle, who's been treated like a shock value artist in recent times, which I don't agree with, and I think he has a complete rounded set of being a comedian. He can take you on stories, he can do skits, he can do so many little bits and bobs within what he does, just straight up punchliney jokes or short jokes, as well as long form stuff. His callback humor is incredible, the way he can bring things back. I think that's something that worked really well with Abandoned as well. It's because it was a current topic that kept reoccurring, I was able to sort of build characters over the course of 3 or 4 sketches, which maybe I just need to do for myself and bring in some new characters around just general gaming topics and things in general. Anyway, thank you for your feedback. I massively appreciate it. If there is anything you would like to see more of on the channel, now would be the perfect time to say. It's been a while being on YouTube. I just want to allow people the time to get in. I'm aware that like notifications and stuff don't necessarily go on, but damn, we got like 15 people up in here. So if anyone wants to say hello, now would be the perfect time to do so. Anthony Jelsinik is a shock comedian. Do you like him? I don't have a problem with some shock value things. I think it's just when you rely on it being your bread and butter. I think 90s comedy and early 2000s comedy, you know, like Wikipedia kind of stuff. If anyone remembers Wikipedia, I think that kind of stuff is just like cheap, you know? I'm not saying there's not room for it to catch people off guard every so often, but you do have to find a balance, you know? It has to be a broader thing, you know? More Hideo Kojima. I would love to. I mean, we'll bring back Kojima when the time is right into a sketch. 100%. 100%. It's, man, like I need to use the wigs and stuff again, you know? I haven't used the wigs in a while, man. In a while. Oh, come on, guys. We've got a couple minutes. Say hello. It's been a while. Did you miss me? Did you not miss me? Like, that's the other side of that question, you know? How is everybody doing? Because this is a discussional stream. So I want to make sure that everyone's already talking before we actually get into these points and stuff. So I definitely want to just make sure who's in here. Say hello. I'm sure there's going to be some names that I haven't seen in a while. I would very much like to know. So we can just get things warmed up, essentially, you know. I will go for 15 minutes introduction if we need to. But I want to make sure that everybody is here. Eric, how you doing? Love the layback stream. Hope you're all having a good one out there. Thank you very much. It is midweek, so I agree with that statement. I hope everyone is having a good one. It's one of those days It's one of those sort of days which it can go one of two ways. Either you've accomplished everything you need to so far in the week and you're feeling great and you're looking forward to just powering through to the weekend, or you're sort of feeling a bit like, oh man, I've got so much to do before the weekend and I don't, you know, it's a weird day, Wednesdays. I always say that. I'm like Garfield, but I hate Wednesdays. Afropunk, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Welcome to the chat. We've got Jeffrey saying, it takes a real man to say I need to wear more wigs. You know, I'm a man of many hair. Like I don't mind just I'll wear a wig if need be. You know, of Mania. I think I'm saying that correctly. Of Mania, welcome to the chat. Hi from Latvia. How are you doing over in Latvia? I hope you're doing okay, man. Welcome. Just a reminder, we will be getting into some of these categories. I'm going to ask people which categories you want to discuss. I think we should leave Game of the Year to be our final thing that we talk about. And I think we should definitely leave maybe the esports things on the side, because I don't feel like this community is very much about the esports elements, so I don't think we need to put that in. But there's a lot of categories in here that I definitely think we should be discussing, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what people think and feel. Shannon, how are you doing, Shannon? It's been a while. The thing is, right, when I stream on Twitch, there's a lot of people that I don't get to see, you know, that I don't get to see, and it's nice to do this, and this is something we're going to stick with, and now that I'm back. And I hate saying now that I'm back. Look, sometimes as a content creator, you run out of ideas. It's as simple as that. And you burn out of ideas as well. There's a reason that artists don't just put out a song every single day, you know, or a picture every day. And even if you do paint a picture every day, you might not necessarily put that out into the world, you know. Sometimes you're not proud of what that product is, or sometimes you are proud of it, but it fills a different sort of space for you. So yeah, I'm trying my best to sort of maintain and just use this last part of the year. The major part of this last part of the year has just been about, you know, trying new things, like trying out Twitch, trying to see what works, maintaining new job opportunities and things as well, because there's been a lot on the table, but really just getting my head in the reflection. You need to take time out and you need to think about things a little bit. It's the best way you can form a strategy moving forward. And I said this last night and I'll say it again. When you make content for social media, and this is something that I've been dealing with for forever in my job as well, it's constant. You don't take a day off. Like Christmas is coming up. Christmas means nothing to the social media manager world, you know? So it comes down to, if you can feel confident enough to take that time out. Obviously what happens is when it's like you're working with a team, people take certain times off and other people keep it moving forward. But when it's just you, like in my scenario, when it's just me, sometimes you have to just say, you know what, I'm just going to take this break so that things can be better moving forward. So that's everything I've got to say. We've got Damien with a very, very off the bat sort of very, very discussional point right here, saying Game of the Year isn't based on what game's the best. It's about what game's more politically correct. I completely don't agree with you. That's just a stab at The Last of Us Part 2. It's not about what's politically correct. We can look at what's actually in this year's Game of the Year, and I don't think it comes down to politics at all. I think that's just specifically the year of The Last of Us 2, and even then, I don't think that game won for being politically correct. I think that game won for being mechanically, narratively, one of the best games coming out that year. There's a reason why it's so highly regarded, and I think it's very, very unfair that people keep knocking down the work of Naughty Dog, one of the greatest games developers in gaming history, and ridiculing it off to say, oh, it only won because it was so woke or blah, 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 blah. Like, I completely don't agree with that statement. When you look at what the game actually does and delivers on, the fluidity of combat, the stealth mechanics, everything that they wanted to achieve in that game on a mechanical level is perfect. There's not anything you can change, really, overall. But if you didn't like that game for other reasons, narratively, the surroundingness of it being too woke or whatever, then that's fair enough. But bringing that sort of politics into what makes a game really, really good those are completely two different things, you know? You can't say that The Last of Us Part 2 doesn't work flawlessly as a game. Like, it 100% does. And when you see someone that's actually high level with that game, running through scenarios and stuff, you realize how good the engine has to be. It's like got the same level of action that the Uncharted 4 does, but it's also got the grimness and violence that The Last of Us has. Like, it's at a point where the game engine itself has been completely optimized on a graphical level as well. When you actually look at what they're doing on the PS4 at that point in time, there's not much games that even come close to it on a graphics level. Like, that you can take away the dislike of that game and strip it down to the bare bones of it being, is it a good or bad game? Then it is what it is. Go ahead, put in your 100% truthful opinion. None of the games up this year have any real level of political correctness, unless we're talking about Lombak's representation. Exactly that. Returnal should be Game of the Year. We're going to get into Game of the Year. I just think in light of last year's stuff, in light of last year's stuff, I think people always just look at like, The Last of Us as a divisive thing, and not what actually it does as a game. Because as a game, it works completely well. Like there's no flaws with it, in my opinion anyway. And that's without getting into the nitty gritty of if you like the story and See, look, gameplay wise, brilliant. Graphics, brilliant. Story, awful. Ghost of Tsushima is a better game in every way. But on a mechanical level, I had more bugs and stuff in Ghost than I ever did in The Last of Us Part 2. Like, I can't think of a time where I ran into anything wrong with The Last of Us Part 2. But that's what I'm saying. If we're talking about what makes a good game, on the level of, did The Last of Us Part 2 deliver better than near enough every single game that came out that year? Yes. Did you like that game? No. But those are two different things. Like, those are two different things. In my opinion anyway, like I'm saying. And this is from someone that arguably, if you were to ask me now which is the better game, I'll say Ghost, because they put a lot more love into it. You got a free multiplayer situation. You got Iki is one of the best games I've played this year because the expansion is perfect and such. It falls a little bit apart when you look at the graphics, like close up and so on and so forth. But overall, again, pretty close to being flawless. But I definitely had a lot more play issues with Ghost than I did with The Last of Us Part 2. That's just me. Maybe you didn't have that in your run. But there's a fair few bugs and stuff that happened. There's a fair few animations that don't chain into each other perfectly. There's just a few things that make it a little bit rough around the edges, but not to the point where I'm like mad about it at all. You know? Gamers, Gamut, how you doing as well? Or Gamut, how you doing? Welcome to the chat. What's good? I'm doing good. How you doing? Mario saying I'll always be mad that Joel died. 100%. But that was the point, you know. It was invoking emotion, and if it made you feel a certain emotion, then it's done its job, you know. I always find it funny when people write things off, like, you know, not in a bad way, but they write it off because it's like, say you go to watch a movie that's deliberately sad and you come out and you go, I didn't like that movie, it was too depressing. Then it's done its job. You know, well done. It's done. It's like, you know, like The Empire Strikes Back. You weren't meant to walk out of The Empire Strikes Back being like, fuck yeah. Like, you walked out of The Empire Strikes Back, or when you first watched it for the first time being like, fuck, I didn't. Or like, you know, like Infinity War. Like, you come out of it and you're like, fuck, the bad guys lost. The good guys lost. The bad guys won. I feel kind of conflicted about this. And that's good. It invokes emotion. That's what it's all about. You know? So that's kind of how I feel about it. Like, if it made you feel something, then the director's done their job. If you agree with that decision, then that's part of it as well. Like, they made a decision that they knew would divide people, kind of thing. But the main point was about if Game of the Year brings political correctness and that's what wins it. And it's like, that's not what it's about. Like, you know, I don't think that's the category that The Last of Us won. It didn't win for political correctness. It won because of all of the stuff it does on a mechanical level overall. you know, as well as delivering a very powerful narrative, and as well as being the most discussed game of that year. Whether you like it or not, it got everybody talking, and that also contributes to what makes something popular. Like, there's no such thing as bad publicity, ultimately, you know, so it ticks loads and loads of boxes for being the best or the most relevant, etc., etc. Some people swear that Deathloop is there because of wokeness or whatever. Deathloop is there, right? I can tell you why Deathloop is in the Game of the Year category. Deathloop is there because Deathloop has probably the biggest spend, I think, in recent times. Like, that game has been plastered left, right, and center. Like, I feel like the game didn't cost that much to make, so they just had so much marketing money left over that they spent more money on marketing than they did on developing the game. You have to remember that with these games awards and such, people are given a chance to buy their way into games awards, because ultimately everything is done for the sake of making money. This isn't done so we can all just have a good time and discuss what the best game is or anything. This is done because it's part of a business move and such. This allows people to get the tagline on their game. When they re-release it as a remaster, or they re-release it later down the line or whatever, they can then put that tagline of best narrative, the Game Awards 2021, and things like that on it. So you have to put a spend in to be able to even be considered, which is why sometimes when you look at award ceremonies, you go, well, why wasn't so-and-so on this? And it's because personally that game's developer or whatever didn't want to put money into being a part of that process because they knew they had the popularity they needed, and so on and so forth. Optimus Backsweat, thank you very, very much for the donation. I massively appreciate it. Thank you very much. Saying Guardians of the Galaxy should be Game of the Year. I'm very close to finishing it. I kind of agree with you. It's in my personal category for Game of the Year. I'll talk about what mine are when we get to that. Ballistics, how you doing, man? Thank you very, very much for your overall support and such. I massively appreciate it. The Last of Us 2 made me feel feelings. Ghost was just any open world game. It did nothing special narratively. Great game, but nothing groundbreaking. Also, I completely agree with you, Callie, and I love that game to death. But it is just an amalgamation of classic samurai stories. It's not breaking, like, it's not reinventing the wheel. It's not pushing the wheel forward too much. It done some great stuff overall for open world games and such. But yeah, like, I completely agree with you. It didn't make me feel anything. I felt some stuff, but not to the same level where I won't touch The Last of Us Part 2, not because I don't think it's a good game, but because I emotionally can't go through that story ever again, or at least for the foreseeable future, you know? So Mary saying you can make so many sequels about The Last of Us with Ellie and Joel, 100%. You could also do prequel stuff as well. Notch, how you doing? Welcome to the chat. I hated that many spat on Joel when he died. But again, that evokes emotion. That gives you that feeling where you're like, you know what, I'm gonna fucking go after these guys, man. I'm gonna get my revenge, kind of thing. So there we go. Eric, welcome to the chat as well. I appreciate how nuanced the discussion can get for The Last of Us. That alone is a sign of nuanced design and intentionality. Exactly, man. Exactly. I am gonna put a pin in The Last of Us stuff. I'm just cleaning up what everybody's saying because we've got a whole bunch of stuff we need to discuss right here, you know? Also, Angel saying, why is Joel dying still a talking point? I remember when Ghost from Modern Warfare 2 died and I was up. Exactly, bro. Exactly, man. Absolute pain, bro. I have another unpopular opinion, says Damien. If they delayed Cyberpunk by at least 2 years, then it has the potential to be the greatest game ever if you play it on the whole, side jobs, etc. Look, I think Cyberpunk is a good game. I think it fills the space of something that I wanted since Skyrim, but the bugs and stuff put a lot of people off. I enjoyed the bugs. I think it ultimately made the game more enjoyable in a weird way, and I do completely agree with you. I think if they had taken the time out with it, it could have actually been a real good hit. Overall, the game gives you a lot of options. It has very good RPG features. It has a whole different bunch of progressions and play styles and things that you can really get into if you are enjoying the game. And I think if they had just nailed it and not had such a bad launch, then a lot more people would appreciate it. I played it from start to finish and I really enjoyed that game overall, even with all of the bugs. It gave it a certain charm that I haven't had since playing slightly older games and such, you know? I'm not a stickler against, like, bugs. I hate game-breaking bugs, but sometimes it's funny. Sometimes it kind of just adds something to this little charm. And to a degree, when you're playing like Cyberpunk and you've got like Keanu Reeves around, you just sort of get into this mind state where you're like, oh, we're in a digital world right now and there's certain glitches around it. So like, yeah, look, I completely agree. I don't think that's controversial. I think people that actually played Cyberpunk enjoyed it, but I think people that were put off from the bugs and things like that just never got into it, you know. Kovra, how you doing? Good to see you, my friend. Bam, where was I? I discussed that a bit at the start. I'll just briefly brush over it. Going through personal things, also going through conflict of content creation, not knowing what I want to do, not knowing what my purpose is as a content creator, having to manage my actual day job and presenting opportunities, keeping myself in a mental space where I could execute that kind of stuff, and taking time off of being on stream and such, because ultimately, and content creation, ultimately, like, look, I'm here for you and you guys are here for me. What I can't do is get up on here and get on camera and be in a certain mind state where it's going to make people sort of feel like if you watch me for any reason, if I bring some sort of joy to your day, some escapism or anything like that, if you come here and I'm in a really bad mind state, then it may have an effect on you, or it may just bring everybody down, and I didn't want to do that. So I took my time out and took that little black hole that was forming inside of me and removed it away from the public view and stuff. I confided in certain friends, but I also kept myself away from all of the people around me. I care about everybody that's involved in this. I care about my community, and I care about the people that are in my life in physical form as well. So I took myself out of it because I didn't want to bring everybody crashing down with me until I was at a point where I was okay again and could get back on camera, because I had other things to maintain regardless. So I hope you understand, but really it's just sometimes you've just got to take yourself out of it for a second, you know? And I feel a lot better now, and I'm very happy to return. I just didn't want to drag people through the mud while I was going through it. And I know that you guys probably would have bought me up, but I just wasn't in a mind state to do that, you know? I didn't want to do that to anyone. Didn't even want to do it to myself. So I just took some time out to not exist and time out to kind of figure out what's going on. And I'm going to use the rest of the end of this year to really figure out what I'm doing with content and stuff. If you have any things and opinions on what it is you like about this channel or what you like about the content I put out, please do let me know. It helps me. And at this point, while we've got a brand new year coming up, like I said, I'm not going to do New Year's resolutions. I'm going to do channel resolutions, and I'm going to put together content that I enjoy making and that you enjoy being a part of as well. These discussional things, I think, is one of the key parts of what this channel is. So I want to do more discussions and things like that. But thank you very much for understanding, and I hope that clears it up for you, you know. Blitz, welcome to the chat. How you doing? Saying he's all over the place a little bit, but I think I've stayed on topic pretty well. Nartworks, how you doing? Good to see you, my friend. Good morning to you. I'm going to skip over any Last of Us stuff at this point in time because we're moving past it. We've all had our discussions. You either like it or you don't. It is what it is. And that's the beauty of being a gaming community. We're not always going to agree on stuff, but we can look at each other's viewpoints and stuff. And that's what it's all about. Blitz saying I love Guardians as well. I don't think there's anyone that hasn't played it. Like, if you haven't played it, but if you have played it, Guardians is such a great journey that you go on, and I'm really enjoying playing it. Joseph P, how you doing? Good to see you, my friend. It has been a while, but I am here right now. Chris, how you doing as well? Good to see you, my friend. We are back. Yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up. I think video games should go gold for 3 months before launch, and have tests for 3 months to check for bugs instead of rushing launch. I think there was a lot of problems in general though. Like it's the crunch and such, man. It's literally people are being overworked. It's every industry is here more so about the money than it is about the well-being of their workers and so on and so forth. And you've got these big money men in the background just saying we need to drop it for this date because somebody in marketing decided this would be the best time that we launch it and things like that. So that overall pressure, I think, doesn't help games out. I think there needs to be more respect on the people actually making the games, and we need a little less of this sort of this forced release stuff. But Cyberpunk has allowed a lot of people over the last year, a lot of games developers and publishers to say, you know what, our product isn't ready, we're going to be pushing it back. And that's something that's a positive. It's a big positive, you know. So as much of a destructive launch as it actually had some benefits for the gaming industry as well, you know. So that's it. Normally it's a 10-minute introduction, but it has been a while. So now we're actually going to get into things. We're going to work from the bottom to the top. I think that's the best way to do things. Shall we start off with best? Ooh. No, we'll do most anticipated game at the end after we've spoken about game of the year, because I think that falls under a category which doesn't doesn't need to be discussed right now, but we're going to slowly go through some of these. Some of these I may skip because I may not have, and like best mobile game. I don't think we want to discuss best mobile game, but if we do, please do let me know. What we're going to start off with right now is best debut indie. Now, of course, I'm not going to have played every single game, so it would be very, very beneficial for the people that have played these games to give me your thoughts and feelings on them as well. Luke saying none of the games deserve a game of the year. They're garbage. I think the thing about game of the year, right, is it's all subjective. Any media art form, like, you know, gaming is a form of art, and as much as it is a form of entertainment, and art is subjective. I think it's the one category which doesn't deserve to be on the Games Awards ceremony is Game of the Year. I think if you break it down into things like Best Indie Debut, things like this, then we can have a discussion about it because it puts it in a space where you can. But when it's something as so washed over, like, you know, like so general, I guess is a better term, as Game of the Year, that comes down to people's personal preferences, so it makes it a very difficult category to even have. That's how I feel about it, you know. So here we're gonna go through it right now. We've got The Artful Escape. I've never played that. We've got The Forgotten City. I've never played that. Kena, Bridge of Spirits. I played that one. Sable looks really fun, but I've not played Sable. I need to pick that up at some point in time. And then Valheim. Now, out of these two, personally, it's going to be between Valheim and Kena. Again, this comes down to two very different things. But personally, as much fun as I had playing Valheim with my friends, I liked a lot of what Valheim was doing. Kena felt like a AAA game, despite being a debut indie release. So for me, I think it's a very easy one. I think photo mode alone on that game is very innovative, and they've done a very good job. Like, yes, it's a game that sort of throws together a whole bunch of tropes that have been used in a lot of games, but the way they delivered it was very, very good. And you can argue that most games consist of a bunch of tropes from other games, but I think Kena really delivered on a graphical level. The story was really nice. I liked a lot about what they actually done with the storyline, and in general, it was just a fun play. I said that a lot when I was playing it. I was having fun. And that's something that's so important to me when we discuss these things. Like, yeah, you can talk about all of the ins and outs and, you know, this and this and that. I really liked the way that most of the combos worked. There was a few problems with combat. They actually ironed those out after release and such. So they did a very good job of it. And when that game really gets going, it works really, really well. There's a few things I wish they had a bit more of. I wish there was a bit more sort of combat scenarios in certain points of time and stuff, because I felt like I needed a bit more challenges to really get my head around the combat. But overall, I think they definitely delivered on a level. I'm going to open it up to everybody in the chat. I'm seeing quite a few people saying Kena. We got Jeffrey saying Kena or Valheim. I think Valheim will win. Valheim can very easily win because it's a much more mass appeal thing. Kena obviously was just PS5. Valheim was accessible via PC, and that doesn't mean you needed a top-end PC to play it. It was open to pretty much anyone with a PC. So, and it really did come out of nowhere and just sort of blow a lot of people away. Very, very small team on both of these games, but Valheim had a very small team, and they delivered a really fun survival game that you could play with friends, which that counts for a lot. That counts for a lot. If you can have a good time while playing with friends, that's going to make you like hold it in a high regard, you know? Kena is a perfect single player experience, but Valheim also has that added element of you actually could have fun with your friends. You could build your little huts and houses or castles or whatever you wanted to build, go sailing. There was so much fun things about it. You know, it was very, very traditional in the survival sense of like survival RPGs or whatever you want to call them, but at the same time it was a nice little space, and it really did pop off in the point in time when it came out, which I think, even though it's a bit more to the start of the year, let's not overlook like how much people played that game. So I think that could, especially if it's down to the public, a lot more people will have had access to Valheim. Is Kena on PS4 as well? Man, I just consider everything PS5. That opens up the availability, but still, whew, still, it'd be very interesting to see if the masses come out and back Valheim in this one. It seems like the chat's going with Kana. That's no surprise to me at all. Winnipeg Gamer saying, I loved the story, the beautiful graphics, the animation, the lore. I hope it wins. Exactly, very good point. I think it's a beautiful playthrough, and it tackles some good themes as well, man. Like, it tackles love and loss and grief, and it goes through a lot of stuff, man. It really, really does. For a game that you didn't expect to be kind of as deep as it can get, I think it does. I think it does that very, very well. Nothing's forced. There's, like, the moments, like, there's themes of love. You've got, like, the two girls that are in love, but they don't do it in a forced way. Like, everything they do in that game is delivered beautifully and not forced and not in a fake woke way or anything like that. Like, everything is just natural. So I think they've done a really good job with it. So are we agreeing that Kana should win this? Because I completely agree. I completely agree. It seems like everyone else does as well. I'm just going to bring this up. I'm going to put, you know what? I'm going to put this over on the thing. We got a lot more people in the chat that are actually not contributing. And I don't mean that in a you're not contributing blah blah. I just mean, like, you know, I want to know what everybody thinks and feels about these games. But if you have no opinion on them, we can go to the next one, you know? I just want to make sure that we're allowing everybody to get their thoughts and feelings across here. I'm going to wait for a second because I am aware that YouTube has a big delay. So I'm going to give you your last, cast your votes now while I just sort of, I take a second, check that my phone's off, things like that. There we go. Take a sip of water. All of that good stuff. I'm going to put my water in here, actually. There we go. I'll be very, very surprised. Haven't played them, so no comment. Fair enough. I'll be very surprised. Hang on. Close that. Does YouTube let you set up polls? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Bro, YouTube sort your shit out, YouTube. Hang on. Let me just put Streamlabs over on this corner. There we go. All right, boom. Everyone's saying Kana. All right. Next category. Content Creator of the Year. I've already won it. We don't need to see that one. We don't need to see that one. We already know. We already. Yeah, I won. They forgot to put my picture on there. They definitely forgot to put my picture on there. So we won't worry about that one. We're not going to worry about that one. They must have. I forgot to submit my picture in time. It's fine. It's fine. Here we go. Best multiplayer. Jeffrey saying Amaranth. Hey, why are you not full screen? Go back to being full screen. Oh, that was full screen. Okay. There we go. Best multiplayer. You got my vote. Thank you very, very much. Thank you, everybody. Here we go. Best multiplayer. Back for Blood. I only played the beta. I can't weigh in. Knockout City. I don't agree with. I think it's kind of fun, but I also feel like it's a game that was like half cooked and just released it half cooked. I feel like there was a lot more they could have done with that. I feel like they definitely could have had more of the parkour element and things like that, and I don't think they did a good job of that. It Takes Two. I didn't get to play. I actually need someone that streams to play with me for It Takes Two, because I do want to cover that at some point. Monster Hunter Rise, again, I haven't played. New World, I have played, but I don't think it deserves it, personally. It's a great MMO to a degree, but I have stopped playing it because of their server issues. I was not able to join my friend's server because of the way that they launched, and it made it very, very frustrating for me. And then Valheim, again, I've said what I feel about Valheim, so I feel like it has a place within here. It Takes Two, I think it's a bit unfair that it's in this category, because I wouldn't consider it multiplayer, as Eric said here. Like, you know, it's co-op. Like, it's co-op. And I don't know if co-op counts as multiplayer, because co-op is like 2 to 4. If it's 4 people, then fair enough, to be fair. If it's 4 people, it's multiplayer in my head. But if it's just a 2-player game, I don't know if that counts as like multiple players. It counts as 2 players, sure. And that's not me being like too pedantic about it. Just do you get what I'm saying? Like I feel like co-op experiences are something that should kind of be categorized as its own, because when you have a game like It Takes Two or A Way Out, which, if some of you remember, I played with Jed on the channel, which was a lot of fun. I think there's a room for what actual co-op player is. Like, it's, and I think that isn't the same as multiplayer. When I think multiplayer, I think, you know, like 4 players or more and things like that, really. So, I'll happily give the category to It Takes Two. I've seen gameplay of it. I know people love it. I love the idea of co-op games. Games specifically designed for just 2 people to share an experience, I think is a great thing. And I think it's a lot more, you know, intimate than a multiplayer. Like, don't get me wrong, not a multiplayer, but, you know, like 4-person chat can get a little bit too here, there, and everywhere sometimes. But when it's just the 2 of you, the bond that is formed when you play a good 2-player game is second to none. You know, couch co-op at that, it's different from online multiplayer. Yeah, exactly. When I think multiplayer, I think massively online to a degree and things like that. But at the same time, I guess they can't really do a category for that. So I think this sort of I think this works. So I've seen a couple people say Monster Hunter Rise, and I've seen a couple of more people say It Takes Two. What we're going to do is I'm going to put those 2 into the thing. So, because I think those 2 are probably the standouts in this scenario. As Angel said, Back 4 Blood is a little bit too much strategizing, and you need to really be in the niche of playing that game. Whereas at least these feel a bit more sort of open and accessible. So I'm going to throw in these 2. We're going to do a quick little vote, and we'll just find out. We'll run this for like I'll run this for like 2 minutes or something. You know, Army of Two was fun. Exactly. That's what I'm saying, man. Like those games where it's just you and a friend. There's something about them that creates an experience that you rarely get in gaming. I mean, going through something like that with your friend it's just a friend. Like I'm saying, it's not too crowded, it's perfect. You know, 2's company, 3's a crowd. There's a reason we have sayings and stuff like this. So my vote will be for It Takes Two. While not playing it, I understand what that game, when it came out, so many people were having so much fun with it, and a big factor to me in this is the fun. But we're going to leave this vote going for like a minute or so. When did I start it? And we're going to keep it moving. Do you think we're spending... I'm not going to say too much time, but do you think is the discussion all good with you guys right now? It's very hard to gauge sometimes. The first Army of Two was dope. The sequel was very disappointing. Couch co-op is dying and it sucks. Yeah, man, it does suck. It genuinely does suck, because before online was such a massive had such a massive player base, there was something so good about going to a friend's house and playing something on split screen. Like it's a beautiful, beautiful thing, man. You know, do you remember like the arguments you'd get into with friends when you play split screens, but not in a bad way? You'd be like, "No, stop watching my screen, man!" Like, and things like I love I love those moments, and it's something that sort of like you get glimpses of when you play online, but it's not the same. It's something I've really enjoyed recently. I think I mentioned it on here, but if I haven't, I'll mention it again. I gave my PS4 Pro to my friend because he was talking about how he doesn't have a gaming console, and we've been hanging out a lot and such, and I wanted to just give it to him because I don't play my PS4 anymore, you know. I also, because I knew that he'd been playing on Xbox the last time that he had a console, I knew that he'd missed out on the PS4 generation in the same way that I had, so I gave him it with access to all of my games, obviously. I did the right thing as a good member of the PlayStation community, and I passed on the greatness, you know? You guys introduced me to so much greatness, and I wanted to introduce someone that I knew would love it as well, and we, every single day, he's texting me, or I go over there and I watch him just play through these games and such, and it's just been such a great scenario. Like, you know, like I understand now why people enjoyed watching me play through these games for the first time, because it's watching someone just have their eyes open to the greatness of PlayStation exclusives and stuff. It's a feeling that's like second to none, and it's also meant that I've actually been playing games with someone in the same room as them again as well, which has also been very, very enjoyable also. And I just love it, like just getting these texts. Like yesterday we had a debate about if The Last of Us was better or Uncharted, and I was saying I love Uncharted because it does everything that The Last of Us does, but in an upbeat way and more action packed, and he was saying that nothing comes close to The Last of Us and what it makes you feel and and he hasn't played 2 yet. He's just played the first one, and we just like having these conversations and such, and he loved Ghost, and like he was into the 3rd act, and I was like, yo, now you can play Iki, and he's like, I've already completed Iki and stuff, and it was just like, I've just been having such a great time, you know, watching this all unfold. It's been so much fun, and I completely understand why people enjoyed watching these watching me play these games for the first time as well. So I want to thank everybody for giving me that experience, and also showing me that this community out here in PlayStation is about spreading the love, man, and passing on these exclusives and not sharing them, you know what I mean? Like not sharing them, not holding them to yourself. Like I understand why the PlayStation fan base is so vocal about all of these things now, and it's a really, really good thing. We're gonna end the vote right here. I think I've given you guys enough time. Looks like It Takes Two takes it. I would love to see It Takes Two stream, having played through it already. One of the reasons I found your channel was to relive these great games through the eyes of someone new to it. Exactly, which is I'm going to play It Takes Two. We're going to get that done, don't you worry. 100%. Overcooked, moving out, Diablo 3. I love playing couch co-ops with the wife. Exactly. Like there's a big market for it, and I wish more games developers were pushing for it as well, or at least allowing certain, because when you think about having 2 people play these games, the way you design the game is completely different, and it works so well. You used to have a couple of those moments in certain big games and stuff. I remember like they did it in like Gears of War, where you'd be like, you guys go that path and we'll go that path, and there was little elements of it and stuff, but when an entire game is designed around it, it just creates such a pleasurable experience for everybody involved, man. Really, really good. Shouldn't games like FIFA or Call of Duty be in this category, because online wise they're at the top? Yeah, but I don't think that's what they're going for. I'm sure they will pop up in a different category in here, probably best shooter and things like that. But if they did, it would dominate games that have been specifically designed for more like multiplayer. These are games that you can play collaboratively as well, I think, is the difference. So I think that's what it should come under. Jacob, how you doing, man? Welcome to the chat. I'm doing good. How you doing? Slurpy Kid as well. How you doing as well? Welcome to the chat. Good to see everybody's name in here. Thank you for joining. We're going to move on now. Our predictions here are, you know, It Takes Two takes the biscuit. So, best sports and racing. Can we skip that just because I don't really like sports and racing games? But we'll take a quick look. There we go. Speaking of FIFA, it's right there. My personal vote in here would probably be Riders Republic. I really wanted to play some Hot Wheels Unleashed. I haven't played Forza yet, but I've got it on the PC, so I will definitely do a stream at some point in time where I try Forza out. At some point this month, in fact, because it came out last month, so we may as well give that a try. But my honest feeling for this is Riders Republic. I can tell you exactly why Riders Republic is probably my favorite sports game, racing game, whatever you want to call it in here. And it's because it fills a gap that was very, very, very dominant, shall we say, in earlier consoles. Extreme games were a massive part of our childhood, you know? You had your Tony Hawks and your David Mirrans and your SSX Trickies and all of these kind of games, yeah? And in recent years, we've really not had that much. You know, we've really not had that much. And Riders Republic kind of brings all of those games into one space in a massive open world map and a lot of fun. First person, third person, whatever you want to do. People can make their own races and maps, highly customizable. There's a lot to unlock. There's a lot of variety, and it's really, really fun. And that's why. But am I certain that Horizon will win? Yes, because the Xbox family, if you want to call them that, are going to come out in full force here. They will be voting this up, and that's completely fair. I don't think we need to do a vote on this one so much. This is a category we can sort of skim over a little bit, because I think you look at these and you're going to make your decision completely. I haven't played it, but through nostalgia, I vote for Hot Wheels. Hot Wheels I want to play as well, but I was sad because it doesn't have cross-platform, which I think is really bad for a game like Hot Wheels, because obviously if my friends had it, then I'd be able to play with them, but because we're on different consoles and so on and so forth, it's not so easy to do so I'm a little bit sad. But I feel like what I liked about the look of Hot Wheels is it is basically if Rocket League had like a racing thing, and I think that Rocket League should have always incorporated races overall, but it would have been nice if they'd done that, but at least we got Hot Wheels to kind of fill that gap, you know? But I think we're all sort of agreed Forza's going to win this, and rightfully so to a degree. Riders Republic is a lot of fun, though. It is a lot of fun, and I really suggest that if you haven't, try and grab this when it's on a deal, if you've been waiting for a reason to play it, or just get your hands on it, because it's the kind of game that you just jump in and you have a lot of fun with, you know? Overall, best sim versus strategy? No, we're skipping that. We're skipping. I'm sorry, guys, but we're skipping that. Microsoft Flight Simulator can have it. We're moving for best family. Okay. If It Takes Two doesn't win best co-op, no, you're up against Mario. You're up against like 3 Mario games. This is a Nintendo. I mean, Nintendo is family friendly. You know, like Nintendo is completely family friendly games overall, so they rightfully so should take this. I obviously don't have a Switch, so I can't weigh in on this. But hey, even Pokemon Snap's in there. So I'm going to leave this open quickly to you guys. We shall see. Just reading over the chat quickly here. Quickly. We can skip this one. So excited to see you growing, Bam. I love your content you cover and how you've handled your channel and no such things. I hope you have a great Christmas. Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much, Legans. I really, really do appreciate that. Thank you very, very much. And I've loved watching us all grow. Like, you know, I know that sounds weird, but like as a chat as well, like we now have like running jokes, and there's like a whole bunch of stuff that we as a whole, like so many themes and things, and I've watched everybody look out for each other as well, which has been so great. Like if someone's having a bad day, I've seen people lift them up and stuff, so I'm proud of all of us. We've all pulled together at a point in time where contact, communication and everything else is so important due to the Panasonic scenario, and we've just created a space where we can sort of escape from all of that and just have fun talking about the things that we love. So I want to say thank you to everybody as well for that. You know, we got Nemesis in the chat, welcome. We got Dunastar, welcome as well. Good to see you. Thank you very, very much for being here. Big love straight back to you in New Zealand as well. I really appreciate everyone getting involved in this chat. This one I completely can't even I can't have an opinion on. Mario Party destroys families. I mean, that's the one thing about these sort of like co-op party games, isn't it? Sometimes it can be very, very divisive with your family. It's like playing Monopoly at Christmas, which I don't advise anyone should do, because somebody's going to flip the board over, and it's usually me. So yeah, there we go. Maybe we can skip this one as well a little bit. Red Dead 2 should just win every year. Nah, man. Like, Red Dead 2 story mode is great, but the longevity of Red Dead 2 was given nothing compared to GTA Online, and I think that's completely sad. I think what works so well about Rockstar games in this point in time is actually how you can use them for, like, things like, you know, like GTA RP is so huge at this point. It's because it works very well as a good big open world simulator, so it allows you to do so much stuff, but they just didn't put the time and love and care into Red Dead's Online, which is very, very disappointing overall. And that's not to say that they haven't done stuff with the online. I just think they could have done a lot more to keep the longevity of that game going, and they didn't. You know, so it's a bit of a shame. Narwork saying I've grown this year, added 7 kg. Hey, me too, man. We've all grown. Our belt sizes have definitely grown. Fighting games, I feel like I can skip because I've never played fighting games because, again, in the same way if I get annoyed at Monopoly, I get annoyed by people just absolutely kicking my ass. So we're going to go into best role-playing instead. Okay. We were speaking about it earlier, but here we go. How you doing, Royalty? Welcome to the chat. How are you doing? Overcooked is the worst. You start swearing at each other, then the next moment you're laughing your asses off. That's what I mean. I love that sort of thing, and you only get that in gaming. Be it board games, be it... Well, you get it sometimes in sports in real life and stuff as well. But, you know, like, be it board games to actual video games and such. There's no other sort of scenario where you go from absolutely hating each other to, like, talking about how you made it through and having the best time ever. So... best role playing. It's crazy to see Cyberpunk on here, but it's on here. So like not because it doesn't deserve to be on there. It's a very good RPG when it works, right? And we discussed it earlier. But just because, like, you know, like it's fighting the most uphill battle ever. I'm great. What's this stream about? It's the discussion on what we think is going to be the winner of these categories, but it's not so much what we think's going to win. It's more about what would you like to win. You know, what do you think wins this category and why? What has that game meant to you? Just so we can get an idea of what is going on. You know. So that's what we're talking about. So at the moment, we're in the best role-playing category. Connor, welcome to the chat, my friend. Good to see you. Hopefully be seeing you on Sunday as well. Looking forward to this Sunday. It should be a lot of fun. Mr. Appleby saying maybe Red Dead Online wasn't as appealing. Plus, it was limited by the time period. But I think that's like anyone that played it had no problem with the time period. And Red Dead Online is almost more appealing because I'm not getting like fighter jets blowing me up and nuclear subs and things like that happening left, right and centre. I think there's scope for it to have a good online. They just didn't really realise what should have worked well with it. So it's a bittersweet one, basically. Scarlet Nexus didn't complete... You know what's sad? Is Scarlet Nexus and Tales of Arise are two games that are absolutely up my street. Because they're basically like playing through animes. And I have both of them. But... the time it would have taken, not just to stream it, but the time it would have taken to actually get through these games, I just didn't have to, I didn't commit. And that's on me. That's on me. I didn't commit, but they're both very, very good games. And I need to get into them at some point in time. But that's the beauty of, like, you know, that's the beauty of keeping things on your hard drive, is you can play them whenever. But genuinely, Tales of Arise and Scarlet Nexus are two games I really get into. Do not count out Shin Megami Tensei V out of this category, guys. This is a cult classic game right here that has a very strong fan base. It might not win, but legitimately, people love that game. The people that play that game and that franchise love that game, you know. We spent too much time on certain categories. Damien, this is me who's controlling it, not you, so thank you very, very much. We're discussing this. It's a big category. Role-playing is a big category. These are games that may not have an appeal to you, but overall these are it's a big category, man. Role-playing games, essentially when you play any game, you are role-playing to a degree. So it's open for discussion. I will control the chat. Thank you very, very much, man. And if you don't like it, you know where the door is. So with a screenshot like that, I'll vote anytime. Here we go. Here we go. So yeah, there's argument for Cyberpunk. Monster Hunter Rise has popped up in a whole bunch of stuff. Like, there's a whole bunch of categories which I'm seeing Monster Hunter Rise in. So if they come out of this with no categories won, then it is completely, like, they need to go and work on that, you know? Monster Hunter is very good as well. Cyberpunk is massive and had a massive second wind as far as sales recently. Yeah, 100%. Avengers better not be in this. Avengers will pop up somewhere in here. As we've mentioned, you buy your way into award ceremonies, so it wouldn't surprise me if they pop up in at least 1 or 2 categories. Here we go. But I'm going to throw my hat into the mix, and I want everyone to do it now. I'm going to give you 1 minute on the clock, but I'm going to say that Cyberpunk is going to come out of nowhere and surprise people, because I reckon in this category, it also has the troll factor. I reckon there's going to be people that will vote for this just based on the troll factor. But having played through it from start to finish, then I genuinely think it works really, really well as a RPG. Like, bugs aside, for what it delivers it really, really well. And it is a fun and interesting world to be a part of. And it has lots of options for when you play through it, to play it in the way that you want to. So I think that has a very, very good factor. Monster Hunter is a grind fest to the point where I want to stop living, so I vote no. That's the one problem I think with balancing out certain RPGs, is making sure that you can actually, like, not get bored. And it's tough sometimes. It's very, very, very tough sometimes. So, there we go. Heard it's less buggy on PC. It's less buggy in general as well. It wasn't so bad on the PS5, but if you played it on the PS4, then it's completely, you're completely just out of options with that right now. I'm going to be that guy and say it. Do it, Connor. Be that guy. Also, remember, GameBite.com for all of your best game purchases. I am a brand ambassador. GameBite.com. Just going to say it again. No Pokemon or Outriders. It's good. It's valid. It's valid. And I will agree. It's weird that they put so much people in here. It's weird that they put like I don't know why some of these categories don't have like 10 options to choose from. You know, I don't know why some of these don't have 10 options. Like, not everything needs to be whittled down into 5, especially when there's more in that category. So it is strange that certain things. Did the public vote for everything except for Game of the Year, or do we all do it? Everything can be voted on. Everything can be voted on. I don't know if they do a percentage thing and if they ask people in the industry to submit their sort of votes as well. I don't know if everybody in here gets the chance to vote, like, for themselves or someone else. But it will be very interesting. You're excited for Saints Row reboot? I kind of am, but I feel like it's definitely like in a it's in a space right now where it's potentially going to get dwarfed by what's coming out. Best action adventure. This is a tough category, everyone. This is a very, very tough category. Cyberpunk might win since the next gen versions are scheduled to come out early next year. Yeah, completely fair enough. It's potential. If Cyberpunk win anything, wait, sorry. This game is rigged. But like I'm saying, you gotta remember, you've got the troll element as well. You've got the troll element as well. You've got the point in time here where someone might come along and just troll vote. And if enough people troll vote for something like Cyberpunk just so it can win an award, then it will win an award. But this is probably the toughest category, I think, looking at it so far that we've looked at, because we got Guardians of the Galaxy, which is a great game. We got Metroid Dread, which is another great game. Like, everybody is really enjoying it. Psychonauts 2 also massively received for the positive, you know. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, again, very, very, very good game. And the weakest link in here for me is Resident Evil Village. But again, a lot of people really enjoyed Resident Evil Village as well. So it's very much up for anyone here. So I'm just going to leave this up to you guys. If I had to pick one, I don't know if it's... For me, it's between Guardians and Ratchet. And I'd probably have to sway it to Ratchet just because Ratchet it's a really fun adventure. I'm not saying that Guardians isn't, but then Ratchet also gets the added elements of Ratchet and Clank is a showcase for what the next gen can be, you know? And that is so important. It demonstrates everything that the PS5 can do, and we've not even scratched the surface with what Ratchet can do. So, like, not what Ratchet can do, but what the PS5 can do. So I'm very interested, very, very interested to see how people do it. Is it bad I've not played any of these? I mean, you probably should have played some of the games in this category. Like these are good games. And I feel like alright, here's the best way to reply to that question, right? Do you feel like there's not enough games on the PS5? Do you have a PS5 and do you feel like that you've not been getting the most out of your PS5? Because if that's how you feel, but you've not been taking advantage of playing games like Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, then you've just bought like a PS5 for no real reason. Because if you're just skipping games like Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart and then being like, oh, I don't know what to play on my PS5, then you've just sold yourself down the river for no real reason. Even like, you know, one thing I will say about this year as far as games go, I've not really played any games that look bad. Like every single game that I've played on my PS5 looks incredible. Everything running in 60 FPS and just with beautiful, stunning graphics and really bright and vibrant, all of the HDR being pushed as far as it can go and everything. Like there's certain things where like there's like a baseline now when we've now moved up. Like just the way things look awesome. Like the facial expressions and such in Guardians of the Galaxy are incredible. Like it's very, 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 very good looking game, and they all work really well as well. Metroid is very, very good. If you get a Switch, definitely buy it. I mean, a lot of people love Metroid, 100%. I agree with Bam. Guardians or Ratchet. Would love to see Guardians win. I'd love to see them win because I know that Ratchet's in Game of the Year. And out of the contenders for Game of the Year, I feel like Ratchet's probably my pick. Brett, welcome to the chat. You're never late, man. You've arrived exactly when you need to be. Mr. Appleby, how's it going? Yusef, I did not miss your message. Thank you very much. Welcome back to the chat. I'm doing well. I hope you're doing well. Yes, I got a PS5. I heard Ratchet and Clank is very short. I actually own Guardians, but not opened it. Haven't been in a rush. Might play it too. I've heard great things. Well, get on it, man. Get on it. Like a game being short, I don't know where things like this pop up. Like a game being short isn't a bad thing. I would rather a game plays out to the best of its ability than drags out and is boring because of it, you know. It's very much like these sort of like things that happen really don't actually affect like Miles Morales is a short game and it's incredible, you know. It's like Call of Duty Vanguard's campaign is short, but it's really good. Like these things don't matter. It's about the enjoyment that you get out of it when you play it. It's like movies are never really longer than 2 hours or whatever, and most games are way longer than that. Like it's how I would much rather watch a movie that's 1 hour 30 than a 3 hour movie that drags on and I'm bored of it by the end of it. Like that shouldn't put you off playing a game, especially a game like Ratchet and Clank, which, as someone saying, it took them 25 hours to plat, so that's a long time. But also, it's pushing your PS5 to the capabilities. £70 for a 4 hour game. Where do you get these stats from? It's not a 4 hour game, like though. In no shape or form is it a 4 hour game. Like it's just, come on. Like, people forget that The Last of Us was only 12 hours. Miles is beyond the Spider-Man game. It's refined and doesn't overstay. Exactly. Like, I don't think, like, time versus money, people will be like, people will say stuff like, oh, I don't want to spend £70 on a 4 hour game, and then we'll go out for an evening, like, and spend like £100 on getting on it or whatever else, but then they won't splash out on like something that they can have reoccurring enjoyments out of. That's a bad example to a degree, but it's like, hey, if you go to like a theatre performance or some shit, like, and that costs you like £50 for the tickets, and it's like 1 hour 30 with a break or whatever, like why is it when it comes to like people still look at games to a degree with like a turn up nose? I think I genuinely think that. I think like people put so much of a value on certain things, but then at the same time will spend money completely recklessly in other elements of life. At the end of the day, all you spend money on is experiences, be it going out, staying in, food, whatever, drink, whatever it may be. It's an experience. Some of that stuff you need it to live, right? But a lot of the time it comes down to the experience. And it's like, I seen it on YouTube. People finished it mad quick, but why do you live your life defined on what? Look, I'm not even gonna fucking get into it because I can't be bothered. But like, don't you live your life defined on what other people are telling you? If you look at a game and you want to play it, then go ahead and play it. Like, it is what it is. And if you really hate it by the end of it, then that fucking sucks. But the majority of the time, there's not been much games that I play from start to finish and I go, that wasn't worth my time. In fact, if I play a game from start to finish, it means I like it. If I don't like the game, I won't complete it. But overall, it's just, it blows my fucking mind, man. A game like Ratchet and Clank, which genuinely, out of all of the next-gen games, one of the actual next-gen contenders, like, is, and you've not played, like, get the most out of your PS5. There are people out there that are dying to play these games and stuff. Go ahead and do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, go ahead and do it. That game will push what you thought next gen is up into a higher echelon and give you way more expectations moving forward. Anyway, this category is almost too close to count. I will personally say Ratchet and Clank because I'm a PlayStation player. So it is what it is. You know? You hated the end of The Village. I did. But I can still confidently say that's like a 7 out of 10 game. I didn't like the direction they went with it. Did the game work on a mechanical level? Yes. Did I have fun at the ridiculousness of the spectacle? Yes. Do I like the game? No. But that's because I didn't like playing Resident Evil 7 just before it, which was so scary, into playing Resident Evil, the Call of Duty edition following on from that. I personally just wanted the game to be a lot more scary. I got through it. It goes in the lower category, but I'm not going to sit here and be like, you know, the game's trash or anything. The decisions are trash. I don't like it for the decisions, but the game plays completely fine. I had some fun moments. It is what it is, you know? I'm not like, I need a refund for this. I got an experience out of it. It wasn't the experience I was expecting. So in that scenario, my expectations slightly kind of let me down, but I still agree that I think the game would have benefited more from being a horror game as opposed to a shooter game. And that's how I feel about it, you know? Mainly because of how good I thought they done with the horror genre of Resident Evil 7. So it's bittersweet. You weren't scared in Resident Evil 8. I was at the start when they was all surrounding me with bear werewolves and stuff. I was in that little freaky house with the weird baby thing and stuff. But other than that, a lot of it is you were just walking around with a gun and just being like pow 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 pow. Like at no point am I scared because I've got like unlimited ammo and everything. Like it just becomes too much of an action horror as opposed to like a horror kind of thing. So yeah, it's just a bit bittersweet scenario. Best action game. Whew. I didn't even finish Returnal, and I can give this to Returnal, and I can tell you why I give this to Returnal straight off of the bat right here, right? The reason that I think Returnal works so well as an action game is because it's all-out action. What I love about Returnal is it takes classic arcade-style shooters, you know, all of that classic sort of like Space Invade, whatever you want to call it, like back in the day. Like, it's just you're just moving, there's a whole lot of stuff coming at you, you've got to learn the patterns, you've got to learn your positioning, you've got to keep moving, you've got to keep shooting, etc, etc. It is that on the 3D plane. What they've done so well with it overall is actually make it a really enjoyable shooter. Like, you know, they did a great job with it. I really enjoyed the sound design, the level design, the overall way that it looks. Like, there's so much positives with it. Did I enjoy the roguelike feature to it? Not one single bit. But I can appreciate what the game does well. You know, it it's 100%, a very well made action game. Far Cry 6 I haven't played yet, so I can't have an opinion on it. It still just looks like every other Far Cry game, even if they've like really turned it up to like a very, very good job. So I can understand why there's argument for that. Deathloop is not a bad game. Don't get me wrong. Deathloop was a lot of fun overall. It wasn't as challenging as I felt like it should be. The AI really let it down. I don't think it holds a candle to the Returnals or what I've seen of Far Cry 6. Back 4 Blood, again, a lot of fun. I know people that enjoy it. I know Angel, if he's here, enjoys it a lot. Chivalry 2, I had a lot of fun on Chivalry 2. I just class it more of sort of like an online first-person slasher as opposed to like an action game, you know? To me, like, the action game doesn't fall under the online category. It's like it's an experience that you really go through on your own, and I feel like Returnal completely sort of ticks all of those boxes. Even if I didn't complete the game, I can appreciate it. As far as an action, it's more of a third-person shooter in my head, but it is what it is, right? They just done it really, really well. Like they did it really, really well. Like it's all out action. You know, just all out action. So I would give it to them based on that. And you know, like Far Cry is more like a RPG shooter. You know, like Chivalry, I don't even know why it's in this category, but it is what it is. This one looks like it's convincingly going to Returnal, which is very, very good to see. But hey, we got Jeffrey and Damien saying Far Cry 6, so I can respect the opinion on that. I think they updated the AI in Deathloop. That's great, but I'd already finished the game by that point, you know? And I kind of feel like that stuff on launch should be really, really tightly, like airtight, because that game relied on scenarios basically moving around AI, so you really needed to nail that. I love the detective element of Deathloop. I think some of the story stuff they did with it was really cool. I love the ascertaining of information and all of that. I think they did a great job with that, and as a shooter it worked pretty smoothly and stuff, but it was let down by some stuff that really made it feel quite dated, which in 2021 I don't want to play a game that feels quite dated, you know? Not unless it's dated in a good way, like a really good 2D pixelated game or something like that. So Returnal, Far Cry 6, definite contenders in here. Deathloop's just in here because they've got the money to go in here. Now if I go this way, because I keep going back to the main thing. There we go. Should we skip AR, VR? I don't know how much people have AR, VR. It is what it is. Today we found out that me and Bam disagree on a lot. 100%. We're not always going to agree on everything in general, like, but that's the part of discussion, you know? I still respect your opinion, but I'm also like, I still consider everyone in this chat a friend, and sometimes I got to say to my friends, you're chatting shit, mate. And sometimes you got to say, Bam, you're chatting shit. And that happens. That's part of the discussion as well. You know, we're going to skip... All right, we're gonna skip AR. We're gonna skip accessibility. I'm sorry. We're gonna skip best community support. We're gonna skip best mobile game. We're gonna go straight into best indie and keep it moving. You know, because I'm interested to see what comes up in here. 12 minutes, a game that I really, really wanted to play. This, yeah, the awards is next week. Words, welcome to the chat, by the way. Words, Seb, welcome to the chat as well. Good to see you guys. I hope you're all doing well. Bam, you're chatting moist. Don't you say I'm chatting moist. Don't you throw moist into the conversation. Loop Hero, not even heard of it. Kenna is my vote for best indie. I'm sorry, but it is. Death's Door, I really want to play. I'm going to play it this month on Twitch. I'm definitely going to play it on Twitch. But Kenna definitely is my vote for best indie right here. Like 100%. Like it is not only the best debut, but it's also the best indie. It's just, it feels like a AAA game, you know? It feels like a AAA game, and that's so important. To come out of the gate swinging with your first release, as they did, yeah, it's a no contest. We've got it. Everyone agrees. It's Kana. It's happening. We don't even need to. We're moving on. We're moving on. Best ongoing. I'm going to say Final Fantasy 14 here. But I'll read them out. We got Apex Legends. We got Final Fantasy 14. We've got Fortnite. We've got Fortnite. We've got Genshin Impact. And we've got Call of Duty Warzone. The reason that I'm going to say Final Fantasy 14 is because I have not seen an MMO just take the internet by storm. Like, absolutely. No, that's far from a no contest. Actually, hardest category. Damn. We're past it now, though, Callie. We've spoken. But 100%. Final Fantasy 14. Look, it got such a second wind this year, and it is only improving. We've got Endwalker coming out this month. It completely went crazy, and it's a very, very good MMO overall. The community is very, very good. Like they're welcoming. It's not a toxic community, which MMOs generally have. It's done so much to really gain relevancy, and it started off in a fairly bad place, and it dipped a lot, but it's brought it back to a very, very good point of relevancy, and it plays really well. It's a lot of fun. Genshin, don't get me wrong, Genshin's a lot of fun. It looks great. I really enjoy it. Fortnite I only get for the sake of buying a skin and then not playing it. But Genshin Impact, I think the only problem with Genshin Impact, and I know this is okay with gacha games and stuff, is it's a little bit too grindy. It forces you to spend a bit of too much money at times and stuff. But at the same time, it's also playable on mobile, which I think is awesome. And it has a huge community over there as well. It's a very, very successful game. Don't get me wrong, I love Genshin. But I just think, Final Fantasy 14. Look, I'm someone that enjoys MMOs. I like community stuff. I like seeing people come together. And it is a very, very respectable comeback. Like, such a respectable comeback. 100% GTA 5 should be on there. It should be on there. Genshin is still the most popular. Of course, it's nothing against Genshin. Just preference. Final Fantasy is tied into the Final Fantasy franchise, I get to ride around in Final Fantasy on my cloud bike in my little Shinra suit if I want to, or I flip it up and I have my different transmogs, my glam as it's called in there, where I can just I've got my one that looks like Dazai from what's it called? No Stray Dogs and such. I've got a whole bunch of different glams and such. It's a lot of fun. It's got a whole bunch of missions that tie into the franchise. It's got everything that you love from all of them as well. So genuinely, I love Final Fantasy 14. I'm sure it probably won't win, but just as a respectable thing, for how well it's managed to keep itself relevant, and for a best ongoing game, it's all of these other games were fairly popular as it stood. Final Fantasy had its niche, but it brought itself into the main public view again this year massively, just before they're about to release Endwalker. So that's a very, very good approach. Apex wins. I wouldn't consider playing any of the other titles. Yeah, fair enough. That's completely fair enough. But I'm throwing my hat in on Final Fantasy 14 just because, if you go on like Twitch and such over the course of the year, obviously Warzone's going to stay in there and so on and so forth. But Final Fantasy 14 went from being like no one to just coming back and just killing it, man. Just getting so much new players interested. It's really respectable. Really, really respectable. And the music in that game. You know how Final Fantasy has some good music in general? Bro, you'll just be walking through and something will just kick in and you're just like, I've got to find this right now. I have to go on YouTube and find this track. And so good. So good, man. So damn good. But I respect if you don't fuck with it, it is what it is. Talon, welcome to the chat. How you doing? Genshin is incredible. Don't get me wrong, man. I got a big soft spot in Genshin. But Some games you just don't play because you know you're going to lose your life to them, and that's the toughest thing. Games for impact. Don't worry, guys. We're getting towards the end of this. What's the time? I reckon we should be finished by about 9:30. Give it an hour or so. This was meant to be a fairly quick stream, but can we skip this? Games for impact. What does that mean? Oh, okay. Thought-provoking game with pro-social impact. We're skipping this. I'm sorry. I'm not someone that's like, I don't want to woke, blah blah blah. No, look, I'm not against anything like that. I don't care right now. I don't care. Is that fair enough? Like, let's just move forward. Plus, also, the impact of what games have on you might not be about what the message of the game is. Because, like I was saying, I didn't expect Kana to deal with such feelings of grief and so on and so forth. There's a lot of games overall that might not even come under that category, but actually do a really, really good job. Do we skip this as well? Do we care about best performance? I'm skipping it. I'm I'm sorry. We're moving forward, man. Let's move forward. Let's just keep it on the stuff that we can all discuss. Because if we get into the nitty gritties of you know, why this game had more of an impact on me or blah blah, or who had the best performance. Look, loads of people have had great performances in games. I really think that some of the best actors at this point in time are the people that are going in to, like, you know, like some of these voice actors and stuff don't get enough credit for the way they deliver emotion overall. But it is what it is. Game audio design. I think this is a good category. Returnal. I'll agree. I've not got a Returnal biased at all. But I do when it comes to audio. I have studio speakers in my setup. I don't know how much people can say that. I have studio speakers, right? I don't have your home stereo surround sound. I don't have that. I have studio speakers. These speakers are designed to deliver audio as cleanly as possible, right? Like, as just clean, man. It's not about being the loudest. They go pretty fucking loud, but being clean, bro. Returnal, it's mad. I don't even know how I can describe it. It's not down to like soundtrack, audio, so it's like Foley. It's about the way that they design the soundscape around you, how immersive it is, how well that allows you to play, and so on and so forth, right? Because good sound design in the game helps you be in that moment. And in Returnal, man, everything just hits perfectly. You're transported into that world. It's pretty mad. It's pretty mad how good they do it. You know, it comes down to everything. And Foley is when people like a good example is whatever like Foley, you have people that specialize in Foley artists and things like that, right? So you'll get someone that they get something like this and they're like, but they manage to recreate sounds from life and put them into the game. And these people will do crazy stuff. And I think what sort of gives Returnal slightly an edge is that they actually managed to create such an alien world, and they managed to make all of these sounds work perfectly. And I don't know how they've done it, but they've done such a great job with it. I don't feel like Resident Evil had anything stand out. Ratchet and Clank was pretty good, but just pretty generic sounding. It didn't make me feel any more immersed, really. It's a bit chaotic as well. It's really hard because Ratchet and Clank's so chaotic at times, so it's hard to judge. Deathloop was okay, but not great. In Returnal, using 3D audio headset, I could hear enemies creeping up on me, save me a couple. Yeah, it pulls you into the world so perfectly. So I think, again, Returnal is looking good this year. Returnal is looking good for some of these standings. So it is an actual soundtrack. It's more effects. I mean, soundtrack can come into that as well, like to a degree, but it's the audio design. Yeah, it's how do they make a landscape feel real, you know? How when you walk over sand, does it sound like you're stepping on sand? Or if you're walking over concrete or wood or anything like that, or if something bounces off of it, or like all of that, that's what makes up the audio category, and that's what makes up a really good game. It's an attention to detail that some games overlook, some games don't have the budget for, but if you take the time out and you really focus on doing that, it is what pulls you in and really puts you into that environment, because audio is so important, like very, very important. It creates everything around us. So, and I don't think people realize just how much it actually has a positive effect on a game, you know, because if you're sitting in your room at night, you have an idea of how far off that siren is, or if a bird's right outside your window, or if you can hear as someone walks down the road, and all of that kind of stuff. And when a game can perfectly emulate that to the point where it translates to the being able to work for the player, then that's when you've nailed your audio. And that's why I think Returnal really does nail this overall. Now here's the music and best score. I might give Deathloop best soundtrack, you know? I might give Deathloop best soundtrack. If there's one thing I really liked about Deathloop, it was the music. Like, the music, they did a really good job with the sort of, like, inquisitive jazz, I want to say. You know? Like, it was sort of, It was so perfect, and it really made me feel like I was in some thing. Guardians has the best, like, straight up unoriginal music, you know? Like, it has the best soundtrack. Like, if I was gonna listen to any mixtape, then Guardians has the best, like, you know, every single song on Guardians is a banger. Don't get me wrong, we got Billy Joel and a whole bunch of other classics up in there and such, but Deathloop has an original soundtrack, which I think is very important as well. I can't speak. Cyberpunk, I feel like is kind of forgettable, but I could be wrong. Passive, thank you so much for the donation. Guardians of the Galaxy, no question. Yeah, thank you once again. But also, look, I completely agree. As far as like known songs, it would walk it by a mile. They sometimes played them a little bit at the wrong time, but maybe that's just me. I don't know. Certain songs they selected, I'm a little bit like, I don't know. But Near Replicant, look, I can completely agree, not agree, but understand why you would say that, because again, we're talking Square Enix, we're talking some of the greatest soundtracks in gaming history have come from this company. We're talking Final Fantasy composers and such as well. Nier has a lot of that also. So I can completely understand why you're saying that. Guardians, I think the only thing about Guardians, why I take it away is because it's almost like if it wasn't for James Gunn really tying the soundtrack to the original Guardians movie, I don't think it would be such a prominent thing in the game, and it feels a little bit like it's trying to recreate that to a degree. And also, I think it's kind of unfair to throw in like licensed soundtracking into a category when it's like best score and music. I think some of these games deliver a better score without it being licensed music. So it's a bit of a tough category. So there we, yeah, I agree with what Callie's saying. I genuinely do agree. I agree with Connor as well. I feel Deathloop soundtrack just keeps it ticking over, and you'll be trying to piece it together, and the music's in the background going like din din din, din, and it feels like how your brain would think in music form. I don't know. I don't know why Far Cry's not in here either. I don't know why this is whittled down to 5 categories. I kind of feel like a lot of this, I feel like up until the week of the event, they should have definitely just put in, like, they should have 10 to vote from, and then 5 of them should be eliminated going into the last week, and then from those 5, they should pick the winner out of that kind of thing, you know? Because I feel like some things are getting overlooked in certain categories, and I don't completely agree with it. So there we go. Most people are saying Guardians. I completely... It does say licensed music. So if you love the soundtrack, then you love the soundtrack, and it is what it is. But I'm leaning slightly more into Deathloop just because it's more original, and I think that has a big meaning. Like, I think if you're able to create music around what you're doing, that's very, very important. Best art direction, and I agree, Talon, and I agree, Legans as well. Death Stranding should 100% be in here. Why is Deathloop in everything, man? Why is Deathloop in everything? I'm not gonna say. I feel like this is too subjective. Like, don't you feel like this is just a little bit too like, best art direct? Like, Deathloop shouldn't be in here, I don't think, because Deathloop just looks like real life, kind of. Yeah, it's got like a 60s, 70s aesthetic, but I wouldn't say that's the best art direction. Ratchet and Clank could easily win this. I genuinely do like the way Psychonauts looks. The Artful Escape, I feel bad for sort of overlooking it, but I have no real opinion on it, so I can't speak for it at all. Kena, I guess, wins best art direction overall. Because yeah, I think it comes down. I think it comes down to ultimately, like when I think about it, as graphically as awesome as Ratchet looks and such, the art direction's kind of been about for a while. Kena came in with something quite original. So I'll have to, you know what, actually, because when you look at the cutscenes and stuff in that game, and you just look at all of the way they've put it together, and they've created their own art style, like, it's slightly Eastern, but it's also slightly Western. Like, they've sort of gone down the middle with it, and they've really created something very, very original as well. And it legit, like, yeah, I'll agree with you, Talon, like, legitimately, like, Ratchet and Clank is like playing a Pixar movie a lot of the time, but Kena's cutscenes are actually crazy, and everything that the art style does is everything in Kena works together, and I guess the art style and the aesthetic is the way that it throws, like, it's the cherry on top for everything that they're trying to create, kind of thing, you know? I feel like I'm a little bit PS biased. I wish I had played Psychonauts. Eric saying Psychonauts should take this. I would say its art direction is why it's being considered so highly in other categories, which is completely fair enough. But it's a little bit like I guess it's an artistic choice, but it looks a little bit dated, like a little bit dated, like, and Kena looks like almost next gen. Yeah, it's very, very difficult. It's very, 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 very difficult, man. Because again, art is subjective, so it comes down to what you like. But I feel like Kena's won this one yet again, in our opinion, and that's completely fair. Best now we're into the three major categories here. So sorry, Jet3, that would have been a good thing for the poll as well. But I feel like just looking at it, I saw more Kenas than anything right there. Best narrative. Why is Deathloop in best narrative? Why is Deathloop in every... It's in everything. It's genuinely in it's in all of them. I don't understand. Like, I do understand, like I said, they have massive spend and you can buy your way into award ceremonies and so on and so forth. But I don't understand, like, the narrative, there's not much narrative to it. Like, it's fairly straightforward. And just because it has multiple options at the end, I don't think it holds a candle to a lot of these other games in here. So, It Takes Two. Alright. It's, I can understand. Life is Strange, I mean, is all about narratives. You know, like, it's 100% a big contender for this. I'm going to put in, because the 3 games that people are saying right now, so we may as well do it a poll, is I'm going to put in Guardians of the Galaxy, I'm going to put in Life is Strange, and I'm going to put in It Takes Two. I feel like these are the most mentioned. But, you know, I feel like this is Life is Strange's category to really take on. It is. Like, it definitely is. Did that poll work? There we go. Okay. Yeah, because, you know, it's a heavily narrative-driven game. So I'd be surprised if it doesn't win this. I really like the narrative of Guardians. I can't lie to you. I really like it. I didn't expect Guardians to hit on as much deep things as it has. And I think the narrative really does hold it together. So I will be interested to see how people vote on this one. Winnipeg Gamer saying it touched on something that no other game has touched on. A couple gone through some serious rough spots. Is that for It Takes Two? Okay. Okay. Deathloop wins most attempts. 100%, man. 100%. But then on the flip side, Eric says that It Takes Two's narrative may be the only thing holding the game back, which is interesting. I need to play it. I genuinely need to play it. At the end of the day, it's very tough to decide on some of these because you haven't played every single game. How's the vote going? What are we looking at here? The Game Awards is 100% rigged. It's not so much about being rigged. It's very important. But it's about... You really shouldn't have started with that buying in BS. It's ridiculous. It's not ridiculous. We've discussed this on stream before, and it's happened multiple times. I can tell you, for working for one of the biggest social media companies in the world, right, Unilad, we were offered multiple times. We would get approached by award ceremonies that go, we're considering putting you into this category. Would you like to buy in? And you buy a table at the award ceremony, and you buy into the category, and then you go up for the vote. This isn't some big conspiracy or anything. This is the way that it works. It's how that they get funding to get in. Now, it doesn't mean that the vote itself is rigged, but it means if you don't choose to buy into the ceremony, then you are not considered in the ceremony. That's how it works. You think that awards companies just pop up out of nowhere and go, oh, you know what? We're just going to put on an award ceremony. Like, everything in business is profitable. They open up the table. They approach a bunch of people that are in X amount of the category, and they go, we would like to consider you for this award. Would you like to be a part of it? Like, it's not some big conspiracy. It doesn't mean that the vote itself is rigged, but it means that if you decide to buy in or not, means if you're going to do it. The reason that you do this, as I explained, is because then as a company, you get a little award that you can sit on your thing, or when you're approaching people for business, you can say, oh, well, we were voted this, that, and the other for this category, that category, and that category. It opens it up. It's not some big conspiracy or anything. It's how it works. If not, what's the point in an award ceremony? Like, think about the grand spectacle and the scale of the Game Awards. Like, and when I spoke about this previously, someone that works in graphics design was like, yeah, our company was approached to take part in an award ceremony recently where we were asked to buy into the award ceremony. It's a buy-in fee. It's paying to be considered part of the competition because it will benefit you later down the line. Whoever wins Game of the Year then gets to put that Game of the Year price tag name on their thing. Like, so that's what it comes down to. It's all vanity stats when you break it down. It's not some like, it doesn't change everything completely, but it means that you then have a bragging right that means you can make more money later down the line. But when you're a prestigious scenario like this, if you know that you're giving out the thing, you can put a price tag on it. It doesn't have to be the biggest fee. It doesn't have to. They're not saying you need to pay us 50,000 to be a part of this or whatever. It's just, would you like to buy in to be considered to win? That's what it is. It's happened multiple times. It wasn't the first time we've been approached. We've been approached a few times. This isn't just me saying this. Other people have come forward when we were talking about this, and they were like, yeah, you know what? That's happened to us as well. It's just how things work. Because if not, ultimately, these are meaningless. Like, ultimately, a good example of it is The Last of Us Part 2 winning and everyone going online and being like, Ghost of Tsushima's my game of the year anyway, and so on and so forth. Like, it doesn't really mean anything, but it allows people the chance to make themselves look better within the industry that they're in. And that may not be every single award ceremony and stuff, but it's generally how things happen. Here we go. Life is Strange, Guardians of the Galaxy, second place. It Takes Two, being at 26%. Bamalam, basically the Game Awards are a product. Exactly. Well, everything is. Everything. This is what I don't understand. It's very good to see the Life is Strange win here as well. You should look into the actual nomination and voting process. You should look into the fact that they're not going to put every single thing online as well. Like, you think an award ceremony is going to be like, oh yeah, X, Y, and people came in and we sold it off to them. No, that's not the part. It's the part of the public side of it is looking like, oh, we're this prestigious gaming awards. Like, so there it goes. But if you want to break it down, Seb, and actually put it into words, go ahead and do that. Like, you're completely free to do that. But just saying, no, that isn't how it works, doesn't bring anything to the discussion. I hate when people do that as a general thing. If the process is different, explain how the process is different. I am talking from a personal perspective where we have been offered scenarios to buy our way in to award ceremonies. It's a simple thing. And if you have reasoning for how that isn't the truth, then explain your reasoning. But when people do this and they just go, oh no, like, that's not how it goes, that doesn't change anything. And it doesn't change the fact that this still happens in award ceremonies all across the world, all the time. Because it's an accolade that people can actually buy in. Like, you know, it's a simple thing. Like, because it benefits people. You are giving the price tag, like, not even the price tag, but you are giving people bragging rights, and not even bragging rights, but giving people the reason to say, well, we were voted for best here. Why do you think there's so many places that all have different awards from however many different award ceremonies all across the world? Like, you go into a different restaurant and like, well, we won the X, Y, and Z chef award for blah, 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 blah. Like, it happens all the time. Because that's how you can say we're the best based on this. And then you go to a different restaurant and they've won a different award in the same category for a different award ceremony, because it's just a way to look better. So also, it's a profitable business if you get to a point where you're absolutely reputable. But if it doesn't apply to the Games Award, go ahead and break it down, man. That's the whole point in the conversation. Caesar, how you doing? Saying, I don't know what this is. What are we watching today? We're not watching anything. We're going through which categories we think people are going to win. For Best Narrative, people have voted Life is Strange, True Colors. We have 2 more categories that we're covering today. And we're gonna then talk about Most Anticipated Game as the final thing, because I think that's a good thing to end on. So, Best Game Direction. Here we go. Surprise, surprise, Deathloop is... Deathloop is in this category as well. I mean, Seb, the biggest example that you need to go against... Like, why would you take what the frequently asked questions is as gospel? for a business. Like, on a public level, you're going to say one thing. How things work behind the scenes is completely different. Why is Deathloop in every single category when categorically everyone would agree that Deathloop doesn't belong in any of these? Why is Deathloop in every single marketing run and promotion before it came out? Because money is a huge factor. Like, genuinely, do you actually think that Deathloop deserves to be in all of these categories, or do you think there's a reason that they just so happen to be popping up? Like, don't take things at face value when it comes to business. 100%. Like, if I'm just gonna leave it, because I'm just gonna get like I said, from a personal perspective, from being asked to be parts of award ceremonies and then being like, oh yeah, we didn't go for it because we didn't want to buy in. Like, please explain why why a game with all of these different, like, so many games that have come out this year, somehow Deathloop is in all of these categories. Deathloop deserves a shout here. It's clear, stylized game direction and executed well. Fair enough. But it's in every single thing. Like, I think out of all of these, the only other one that's popped up the most is probably It Takes Two. So here it is. Who is everyone in your bubble? It was pushed in PlayStation Directs. Why is it? It seems so annoying to me. It's not annoying. It's Deathloop genuinely was a half-cooked game that came out with 9s and 10 reviews that completely overlooked the fact that it was not delivering on some of the most key elements that it needed to do. It had bugs, it had problems with its AI, and it wasn't the most enjoyable game. It was a standard shooter, completely like a standard shooter, and it wasn't like reinventing the wheel. It didn't do anything absolutely like groundbreaking, but at the same time, there's been such a global industry bias towards Deathloop since it came out. And the only thing that I can think that goes about that is money. So we shall see. But It Takes Two, Returnal, Psychonauts 2, and Ratchet and Clank, best game direction. I feel like Deathloop might win this one though. I do agree with Callie. Like, it was completely actualized as what it wanted to do. It worked really well for what it wanted to deliver. I just don't think it was as good as a game as people were making out. And playing it from start to finish, I don't think the game holds up. I genuinely think that the game shouldn't have had a roguelike approach, and I think it should have definitely had a difficulty setting at the very least. I think that would have been one way to combat the overall approach for what made this game sort of like there was no difficulty setting, which kind of made it quite easy to play through. The second you had got like golden and purple guns, it was a wrap. Like, there was nothing too difficult about it. Once you had enough health in that scenario and the right sort of perks, it's pretty much a walk in the park. So I kind of wish that they had put in a difficulty setting to crank that up to the max, but it is what it is. It Takes Two, again, is a game that is completely actualized, knows exactly... I mean, everything in this category knows what it wanted to deliver and delivered it perfectly, which is fair play to everyone involved in this scenario. But, again, I'd argue that, I would argue that Resident Evil Village could fall into this category. While I didn't like the narrative choices, I think what they done with Resident Evil Village, embodying the essence of all of the Resident Evil games and playing through all of the different types of horror and stuff, I feel like they achieved what they wanted to achieve, but it wasn't the game that I wanted to receive. So again, I feel like this would be easier to call if they had had a few more things in here. But based on all of these, I don't know where I stand. Deathloop and Returnal should cancel each other out. I genuinely don't know where I stand. It's probably the toughest category we have right here. since, what was the other one that was really tough? There was one other category which was really tough earlier. Are you buying Horizon Forbidden West? I mean, 100%. Also, for anyone interested, I will be streaming Horizon Frozen Wilds. Because it's the same, it's the FW, but I will be streaming Frozen Wilds either this month or in January. I haven't completely decided when I'm going to do it, but I'm going to be tackling the DLC on stream because it was something that I deliberately left, knowing that there'd be a sequel, knowing that we were getting a sequel in upcoming. It was soon enough, so I will be tackling that before I get into Horizon. I've also already made the decision that I'm going to complete Horizon before I even tackle Elden Ring. Elden Ring's going to be a game I play over the course of many months. It's going to involve me playing stuff off stream. It's going to involve me playing stuff on stream. But out of those two games, I really want to get stuck into Horizon when it comes out. And I don't want to be burdened by the fact that another great game is coming out so close to it. So that's what I'm doing moving forward. And in order to really appreciate Horizon for everything it has, and now that we know that it's got the recent sort of upgrade and such, I will be doing Frozen Wilds because I really, really, really am looking forward to playing that as well. This is too close to call. Honestly, I kind of like, Callie made some good points about Deathloop, but at the same time, Ratchet and Clank really did a great job with its direction, and that's not having to figure about the overall sort of narrative element. So as far as like implementing the Rift element, everything that they've done with the categories, etc., I think that I would personally still give this to Ratchet and Clank just because, hey, look, they knew exactly what they were doing with this game. Yes, they had the advantage of working with a franchise that has been about for ages, but I think they did a really good job with everything they wanted to put across with this, and I think that was a very, very good, very well executed overall. I think that's what it comes down to for me as well. Like, the implementation of the Rift and such is such a cool feature, but it's also knowing they never overused it or anything. It always comes in at the right time. I really did like the overall approach. I liked how moving from world to world, going back to worlds, going to different versions of the world and all of that really helped deliver what they were going for with the storyline. So kind of best game direction as an overall arching sort of thing. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart really knew what it was looking to deliver, and I think they delivered that perfectly. I think anyway. You should play Dark Souls 3 before Elden Ring. It's the closest game to it. It'll help you prepare for it. I mean, I probably will, but genuinely, I'm kind of over streaming Souls games. I'm kind of slightly over the sort of pretentiousness that comes with playing Souls games and the community around Souls. I think there's one side of the community that's really welcoming and also wants to help you out. And I think there's another side of the community that sort of likes looking down on other players and also doesn't like people actually being a part of it. Like, it's a little bit League of Legends-y. It's the only other community I can compare it to. Like, it's very, very, it can be antagonizing. And I think also for the stream, people can be, they kind of want to see those rage moments and such. You know, they're like, I struggled on this boss, so I want you to struggle on this boss. And such things like that. So I'm a little bit reserved about playing Souls games on streams at the moment, but we shall see. We shall see. Now we move into the category, which is the biggest category of the entire scenario and overall as well. The one which I think people are not going to be able to agree on. Oh, so this gets 6. This one gets 6. Souls games, I dig the sense of accomplishment. I agree. Like, I think that's what I mean. I love it when it's like, yes, like everyone's rallying behind you and stuff. But there's a lot of times in Souls games where it's like, I beat this guy on so and so forth and da. Souls games are quite linear. They have a backseat gaming community. Yeah, but it's also like it's like one of those like egotistical backseating communities where it's very much just people being like a it's very much people just being like, oh, I did this, like, you know, like people get their chance to really brag out in Souls games, and when you're in a scenario where you just you're not in the headspace to do it, I don't give a fuck, man. Like, it's as honest as that. It's like, great, you beat the game 7 times over. Like, whoop-de-fucking do, man. Are you really just here to just flex on the chat, man? If you're so good at Souls games, then fucking go and launch your own Souls channel or whatever, you know? I don't know. There's just something about it. I was talking to Callie about it. Like, I don't think there's ever been a time where I've finished streaming a Souls game from start to finish, but by the end of it, of stream, I'm not, like, completely bent out of shape. Because it's a very niche, tight-knit community as well. But we're not here to talk about Souls games. We're here to talk about the game of the year. So obviously we have Deathloop. No surprise there. Can I just say, can I not even just say, chat, do you think Deathloop is a game of the year contender? Do you think its cultural impact, its mechanical level, its narratives, its graphics, its everything, its sound design, except do you think it makes it a game of the year? Before we even get into anything else, because I genuinely am annoyed seeing it pop up in so many categories when it's such a polarizing thing. Like, I think all of the critics and stuff say it is, but I think that the general gaming fan base, like, that game came and went. Like, that game completely came and went, you know? Do you think that this falls under a game of the year contender? If you want to phrase it like that, then none of the 6 games listed deserve it. Completely disagree with that. Completely disagree with that, but it is what it is. All of these other games mainly created some sort of narrative. I don't remember people sharing Deathloop clips online. I don't remember much people streaming it in general. I don't remember lots of people doing Let's Plays. I don't remember it having any sort of an impact on the gaming industry apart from when it first got its reviews and everyone was calling it a 9 or a 10 out of 10 game. You know? It definitely belongs there over Resident Evil. Hey, I will agree with that. But just when you consider that Deathloop has popped up in near enough all of these categories and Game of the Year, I don't think it's done enough. Like, I don't think it's done enough at all. And I enjoyed the game. Like, I enjoyed the game. I had fun playing the game and stuff. I just don't think that game's anything more than a 7 out of 10 at best. So I'm seeing a lot of no's in here. I'm seeing a lot of no's. Not going to lie, this year is kind of weak. We have one big game. It's very fair, in my opinion. Definitely belongs over Resident Evil. Deathloop was a fad, not a great game. Only critics keep talking about Deathloop. It's a meta-narrative. I think Deathloop wins, but only going to cause controversy. If Deathloop brings Game of the Year, I will be very, very sad. Very, 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 very sad. I think it's good, but I don't think it's Game of the Year. Exactly. That's, like, I don't think it falls into, like, when I think of games from this year, I don't think it holds it up. Like, I don't think it holds it up. Connor, thank you so much, man. Just wanted to say off topic, but it's great to see you back streaming after your little vacation and loving it still. Well, yeah, I am. Look, and even if I get wound up and stuff about certain things and we don't move past certain points and whatever, that's part of the conversation. I'm never going to be fake and just be like, hey, man, I agree with you just for the sake of, like, it moving the conversation forward or whatever. I would rather have a difficult conversation that means we actually learn something by the end of it than have a, like, an easy, everybody just gets to feel like validated conversation, because ultimately if it's false validation then no one's validated, and why would we be fake to each other? That's how I feel, you know? Nah, are you serious? You think Deathloop is better than Resident Evil? That's just crazy. Do you want me to talk about my feelings on Resident Evil? Because I'll throw it back out there, right? Playing Resident Evil 7 was such an experience for the good. Like there's moments where I'm playing, you can go back and watch me playing it, right? Where I'm like, I'm scared to move. I don't know which way I gotta go. I don't know if daddy's gonna punch through the wall and choke me out or whatever, which, you know, some people enjoy getting choked by daddy, but me personally, not at all. Just absolutely just wigging at any opportunity, just scared, like just being just bullied into submission by that game, and going from that to Resident Evil 8, which is the spectacle of horror and fear. Like, it feels like a theater production. Like genuinely, it's like, welcome to the madness of Resident Evil 8. And it's not scary. Like, it doesn't have anything that makes me go like, I don't want to move. Like even when you're being followed around by lady big titties and big feeties or whatever, right? There is no sense of impending doom. Even when like your hand gets just cut off, he's like, I'm gonna just glue my hand back on, or things like that. Like there's no moments which should be scary. Like the memes, everyone was so excited about the game, with the memes and everything, and then the big titty goth lady, vampire lady, whatever you want to call it, Demestru, or whatever she's called and such. And it, like, again, that game came out and it just fizzled out into obscurity. Like, it went from being like this whole thing that everyone was anticipated to being, within 2 to 3 weeks, no one ever spoke about it again. Like, it legitimately really, really was just like, bro, there's a part where you just get in a fucking, like butchered together tank, and you're just fighting this giant mechanical Magneto monster. Like, none of it was good, in a way. Like, it was a good, fun action game, but none of it was scary. And I wanted scary. I didn't want another action shooter. The whole aesthetic of it was like Bloodborne 2, but then playing through it was like, you know, just absolutely, there was no stakes involved. There was no fearing for my life. There was no like freakiness looking around and being like, hey, did that just move or anything? Like, you just go and smoke a blunt with Dutch and his thing, and you purchase a whole bunch of upgrades and shit, like landmines and fucking shotguns and all of this stuff. And it just wasn't in any shape or form the game that I wanted to go into, you know? Like, it was fun, but I went into Deathloop knowing what Deathloop was going to be, and Resident Evil's marketing was very much like, this is going to be the amalgamation of all of Resident Evil. It's 20 years in the making, and it's really going to build on everything we're doing and stuff. And then it was just like, it was too much of everything and not enough of like just a clear down the middle approach. Like, you know, like what was that fish monster thing where you're just running around that small little, like genuinely there's moments in it where it just feels like fucking like zombies, but a nerfed version of Call of Duty zombies, because even the zombies piling up on you in a game of zombies was more scary than anything that was thrown at you in Resident Evil Village. And I wanted to be scared. Like, I wanted to be pushed to my limit and not given like 1,000 bullets to just fight 1,000 werewolves that just went down after 2-3 shots. And just, you know, like, that's why I can't classify it as a game that I enjoyed it. Ironically, I enjoyed it, like, laughing at the spectacle and all of that, but I did not get what I wanted out of that game. And based on it continuing directly from Resident Evil 7, I thought it was going to build on all of that, and I thought it was really going to keep that going. But I think ultimately it comes down to this: they made it less scary because people complained that Resident Evil 7 was too scary. And I think that's a bitch move. I genuinely think that they tried to make it more accessible, and I don't think that was the right call, like, at all. You know, I I just don't. And I know a lot of people liking it to Resident Evil 4. And I know a lot of people say it played into the more of the sort of action horror that the franchise has had and such. But just from where it was going, and I think the engine that they use is great, and I'd love to see them use that engine for making like a new Dino Crisis or something. But just like I'm saying, if I can just glue my hand back on, then why am I scared for anything? Like, and I think you can make it a spectacle and you can make it action-packed, but you can also still keep that level of fear and adrenaline pumping when you're doing it. And for that reason alone, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart is my game of the year based on the stuff that is put out here. Like, it just pitch move confirmed. Like, it missed the bar that I had set for it, but also that I feel that the previous game had set for it, you know? And I think that's the problem. I think I went into it because, you know me, I went from playing Resident Evil 7 one week going straight into Resident Evil 8 the next week. So my head is in a much different space going into that than people that have been waiting and sort of, you know, just like, oh, it's cool. And people that have a bigger affinity to the franchise from start to finish and can be like, oh yeah, this is more sort of like when they go into their action phase and da-da-da. Like, I think that there's a severe lack of horror games, and I was really impressed with what Resident Evil 7 done. And did it have some actions, some crazy action? Look, the chainsaw hell in the cell was absolutely ridiculous and over the top. But it was super fucking gory fun, and it felt like a little bit of a turning point in Resident Evil 7, because after I got over that, I was a little bit like, well, nothing's going to scare me again. But then I got back into being scared again and such, you know? But this was very much from start to finish, like when is she called Demonstreu? I think it's Demonstreu, right? When she transforms into the big flying monster and whatever the fuck she turned into in all of this, like, from early game, it just didn't hit a mark, man. It just didn't hit a mark. So it's a shame. It's a massive shame overall, for me at least. So yeah, I'd say Ratchet and Clank. Why do I say Ratchet and Clank? Ultimately, Ratchet and Clank is the best technical showcase that we have of being in the next gen. If you ask me, it delivers on not only a great narrative. I think there's a whole underlining Callie said Chainsaw Hell in the Cell was grounded compared to Tank vs Megatron. Exactly. And the thing is, right, not only do you go from the Tank vs Megatron, then you just go into the part where you're literally playing like some Black Ops shit, where you've got like night vision and fucking assault rifles, and you just go in and murk everything. Which would have been really enjoyable had everything in that village been scary and murderous and given you such a tough time. Then it would have been really satisfying just going in with your little Black Ops gun and da-da-da-da-da. But because the whole game was a cakewalk as far as shooting and whatever goes, it didn't have that same impact. If you send me off on a tangent, I will go all the way to the ends of Earth with it, so I apologize. But yes, Ratchet and Clank, not only does it deliver on a mechanical level, the showcase of what next generation gaming can be is completely there. You zoom in and every single little piece of fur and fiber is moving with the wind, or whatever you want to call it. Like, you use photo mode to really just look at everything that's beautiful in it, and it's a beautiful game. It's colorful, it's vibrant. When you first transport through all of the different rifts and you're just falling down that side of the building, and there's an entire city moving around you and all of that stuff, then you fall back through and you're in like this like desert type landscape, and then you fall through another rift and all of that. Like, all of that is great. But then on top of that, being able to bring in a character that is more charismatic than Ratchet himself takes a lot. It takes good writing. It takes absolutely perfect voice acting performance. The charm that is in previous games is amplified to the max. the storyline, the underlying feeling of expectations in Ratchet and Clank, living up to certain expectations, is displayed in such a good, easy to ascertain way, almost to a point where if you're not paying attention, you slightly overlook it. But there's such a good feeling of what does it mean to be a hero? What does it mean to want to be a hero and have made mistakes and such, in Rivet's case and things like that. Or in, I can't even remember what the other version of Clank is called, the female version of Clank, and it's really annoying me that I can't. But what does it mean to feel like a monster on the inside when you just want to be anything but that? And you live in this cage that you put yourself into and things like that. And what does it mean when you meet the person that you wronged? And like all of these narrative themes and good writing, actually really good writing, comes together on the backdrop of a game that just works flawlessly, apart from that time where I fell through the map at the very start of the game, but overall works flawlessly. That's why for me it's game of the year. Kit, thank you very, very much, Kelly. Like, everyone introduced in that is awesome. I love the way they play with the mirror images, even of like Nefarious, the two different versions of Nefarious and things like all of that. They did such a good job of packaging that all into one game that just works so coherently, and also has so much things that are forgettable, but at the same time not forgettable. Like, there's so much beautiful landscapes that you don't take in for a second, or you just walk past, or all of that mixed in with, like I'm saying, the technical showcase of how well the PS5 can actually output the game is incredible. And that's why for me it's a game of the year, and that's what I mean. And I think when we talk about not just experiences, when I talk about impact, we're going to see things that they done in Ratchet and Clank still being done moving forward for years and years to come. And I don't think any of these other games really tick that box, like as far as like gaming impact. We're not talking about cultural impact. We're talking about actual game industry impact. I think Ratchet and Clank does that as well. And I think that's something that should be considered when talking about a game of the year kind of thing. That's my thoughts and feelings on it. I completely respect if you don't feel like that. But that's why I think this game really stands above all else as far as things that I've played. Is it my favorite game from this year? Maybe not. Maybe not. But as far as the options provided to us, that's what I think and feel, man. Personally, Kena is probably my game of the year, or maybe even Guardians is my game of the year. And there's one other one, genuinely, if I could pick a game of the year, I think I'd probably go with either Ghost of Tsushima's director's cut or Death Stranding's director's cut. I think both of those games are so incredible. And it's a shame, as people mentioned earlier, that there's not a category for sort of like remasters and director's cuts and expansions and things. There are in other categories, or in other award ceremonies and such. Iki Island won Best Expansion with another place, but as far as the Game Awards goes, they don't have a category for that, and that's something that I think they should definitely add. Because, yeah, I mean, I would argue that playing Death Stranding in 2021 is more impactful than when it came out. I think it has so much more of a social comment. Like, when it first came out, it's a social commentary for something that we didn't know was going to happen, but having come through the mists of a Panasonic and everything, I think that gives Death Stranding almost more of a cultural impact, and it gives the game another added layer of depth completely, because it really does tackle loads of themes of about, like, isolation and other such like that. Deathloop should be Bam's game of the year. Maybe it should. I mean, clearly the Game Awards thinks that it should be in all of these categories. So there we go. I believe director's cuts and ineligible for Games Awards. It should just have a little category, you know? Like, they've got best ongoing, so why didn't they do, like, best re-release? I don't know. I don't know. And here we go. Here we go. This is probably the toughest category. How are you meant to pick out of those? How are you meant to pick? Like, we came through a Panama Camel as well as a Panasonic. I don't know. I genuinely don't know how we pick here. I just because in the one side of things, it's Elden Ring, isn't it? Like it like in one way, it's kind of like Elden Ring. But then in another way, it's also not Elden Ring, it's God of War. But then also, it's not God of War, it's Horizon. And then also for all of the Zelda heads, it's going to be Zelda. But then Starfield is really interesting. If Starfield delivers on everything that everyone thinks Starfield's going to be, then it could be crazy. I am loving watching everybody just like Horizon. I will say this. I will say the most intriguing lore, like, you know, out of these, and this is something I've said previously, I think that Horizon has one of the greatest stories and world building and lores as far as games go that I've played ever. I think it does such a great job with creating this future world, and I can't wait to see what happens next with it. Like, I guess that would fall under the most, like, I can't wait to see where they go with it, because it's just crazy. God of War, I adored the first of the new. I really enjoyed God of War 3 as well. This is... We spoke about this, didn't I? I completed God of War 3 years ago, and then when I went back to play it, when I got my PS4, I got annoyed about it. God of War Ragnarok intrigues me because the Norse mythology element is so cool. I feel like God of War Ragnarok has more of an ability to drop the ball than Horizon Forbidden West. Like, I feel like, and why I say that is, what I mean is, if they make certain decisions with God of War Ragnarok, they may upset the fan base. I'm not sure that they will make certain decisions that will upset the fan base, but based on the way that the storyline goes, based on the way that prophecies go, if you want to call them prophecies, self-fulfilling prophecies, themes that have been raised in the God of War previous game, there is definite scope for Kratos to die within the next 2 games. I know a lot of people don't want to accept that as a thing, but if you look at the story of Kratos, there's definitely room for Kratos to die in the space of the next 2 games, because we don't know where they're going with this afterwards, but we know we're going to get another God of War after this, so if they don't like clean it all up completely here, I know they said this is pretty much the end of their Norse mythology stuff, but I can see them making a decision that will rile the fan base up. I don't think they'll do it in a way that will be bad, but I can see them doing it in a way that will potentially upset people, which I don't think will be a bad thing, but I think people will argue there's no God of War if you don't have Kratos and things like that, and so on and so forth. Just think about everything they've set up. At the same time, though, they've set it up that it's all on Atreus, and if Atreus goes that way or doesn't go that way. So it's all about his character arc as well. But I can see them doing something that would potentially throw the fan base off or upset the fan base. So it'll be interesting. Very, very interesting to see. But Kratos can't die yet. He still has another Pantheon of gods to kill. But I think Horizon, man. I think, look, Elden Ring, I know what to expect from Elden Ring in some way. I'm looking forward to it for a completely different reason. I think it could easily win Game of the Year next year. I mean, playing the closed network tests and stuff, it works really well. I love the aesthetic of it, etc., etc., but I'm not 100% sold on it. God of War Ragnarok, I think it's going to completely deliver on every level. But you just have to look at it like this. Like, did they not basically predict like Kratos dying at the end of that previous game anyway? Wasn't it like written out on the wall to some degree? And doesn't it follow Kratos's like mythos within the game that he ultimately would end up being killed by his son in the same way that his father was killed by his son, and bloody blah blah blah. So you can see where they're slightly going with their mentality towards that. So we'll see how it plays out. You know, we'll see how it plays out. Horizon, though, as I've said, I just think the lore surrounding Horizon, I think the way that they've used so much elements that are kind of there, you know, like biofuel and robotics and all of that kind of stuff, but then also like making the world go so far into the future that it's also like so back in like so destroyed in the background and such, like it's moved so far forward, but it's also primitive while being so technologically advanced and all of that kind of like all of that stuff that they're putting across in the way that they tell their story and the way that the world tells their story and so on and so forth, to me is one of the most exciting things in gaming in recent times. I think it puts it in a space that not a lot of other places do. And while a lot of games in general tackle this sort of post-apocalyptic world, I think that like Horizon Forbidden West has done it in a way that is completely different and completely unique to only that game. And I think it works awesomely. It genuinely does. The variety that you have when you're using different weaponry and things like that is awesome. The way that you can approach every different scenario is so cool. They've done such a good job with the way that they put it together. My biggest problem with the original game was the melee combat. It looks like they've worked out melee combat in this as well. I'm just excited to see where they go with the story, and I genuinely don't think they would have pushed forward with it, or they wouldn't have done it unless they had very good ideas for it. So each game comes under a different category here, you know? So that's pretty much how I feel about it. Knotworks, how you doing, man? Thank you so much for the membership once again. Thank you for joining the Famlam. If you are over on Twitch, please do let me know so I can add you to the VIP members list on my Twitch streams, because obviously we do gaming stuff over on Twitch. And anyone that is a member on this channel instantly gets given a VIP badge on Twitch, because it's only fair. If you're a member over here, I want you to still have a level of VIP-ness over there as well. So please do just remind me if that's the case. Remind me of your Twitch name so I can do that when I'm off stream or whatever. Just send me a message or reply on any of the members' posts on this channel. But that's how I feel. Abdul, how you doing, man? Good to see you, my friend. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Why is this even a category? I think it's good to discuss. Knotworks, thank you very, very much as well. Thank you very, very much for the dono. I appreciate it. It comes down to what you want to see. What you want to see, like, moving forward. But I just feel like, look, I know God of War Ragnarok's going to be good. I feel like it has to play a little bit more into Norse mythology, which means you can sort of start to predict the way it's going to go and things like that. But just Horizon, I don't know what to expect in any shape or form. And for me, that's what makes it the most anticipated, because it's a game that I love, but at the same time, I don't know where it's going. And that is excited. Like, that makes me excited. I don't know about you, but it makes me excited. I love the stuff that's going on with God of War. Don't get me wrong. I don't even want to pick. But if I'm just leaning as to what I think is, like, the most original IP, then I'd have to say, you know, you've got to tip it to Horizon. for the reasons that I've stated, and I want to see how that plays out. Yeah, and I would really like if God of War's a little less linear as well. And that's something that Horizon always delivers, or not always delivers on, but you know, it being open world means that I can just go get lost in that game, and you can do that in God of War to a degree as well, but you know, there's certain ways you have to go through and progress. Even for me in my playthrough, in order to get to the next Valkyrie, I've got to take on some of the challenges, and I just want to fight the next Valkyrie, but I'm sure that the challenges will help me. I can't unlock the next Valkyrie until I've got past the challenge, and the challenge is like kill 100 enemies or something like that. Like, I don't like things being gated completely, whereas Horizon has nearly always just allowed me, I can go wherever I want. If I survive in that area, is a completely different scenario, but I just love all of that mysteriousness. I'm looking forward to exploring a brand new map and seeing it all to come together, and looking at this post-apocalyptic, as Callie said, world. So let's check it out. But yeah, I don't want to, I really don't want to, I don't want to pick out of these, but I'm just saying why I'd slightly lean to Horizon. And let's be real, it's because of Aloy, isn't it? I'm making up all these reasons because Aloy's better looking than Kratos. So should we just break it down into the reality of it? Like, one of them has my heart. One of them has my respect, but the other one has my heart. Damien, thank you so much, man. You haven't annoyed me. The only time I get annoyed is I'm more annoyed at myself. So, like, don't you worry. As I've said, I would rather that conversations can get slightly heated, because it shows that we're passionate about things. And as long as no one's disrespecting anyone in that process, then we are completely all good. You know, it's completely fine to have these passionate conversations. It's not fine to be rude to anyone, because we're all part of the same community, and we've all got to respect each other and be able to put our hands up and say, I disagree, but I respect your opinion, and so on and so forth. You know, that's how I feel. So thank you for joining. Milan, how you doing? Good to see you. Haven't seen you in a while. Hope you're doing okay as well. Warren, how you doing? Same VIP. Warren's Q is my Twitch stripper name also. There we go. As a reminder, that is open to all of the members and such. It's fine discussing the games coming out, but actually awarding a game that hasn't even released seems a bit anticlimactic. I completely agree with you. I don't think this should be a category, but I like the discussion that we get around this, you know? Horizon is good. At least my wife and I can play it together by passing the controller. Will she play any Souls or Zelda? She will not play any Souls or Zelda. Like, and that's slightly, you know, God of War is not a Souls game, but they've really adapted the combat to be a lot more Souls-like and such, which I think is good. But you know, it makes it a little bit harder to get into and such. Hold on, before I leave, Kratos is sexier than Aloy, not a debate. No. Bet Kratos has a massive wang. I mean, if he was sleeping with a giant, you gotta have the equipment for that. You've convinced me, Horizon, for the original IP, 100%. I don't understand why people don't talk about how well thought out Horizon's story and lore and world building actually is. Like, it's crazy. And not only does it go so far into the future that, like, we now have futuristic Vikings and Mayans and all of that kind of stuff. Like, there's everything they thought about in that serves a purpose, and it pays homage to the old world, but it's in the new world, but it's still the old world, because it's like the robots are like dinosaurs, and like there's just so much cool things about the way they put that world together, which is unique and original. And ultimately, originality in this day and age in the entertainment industry is so important. So important. Like, it really is. It really is. Someone said something earlier. I think it was Jeffrey. I'm going to scroll up quickly. It was Jeffrey. Prediction. Kratos dies, and after the ends credits, wakes up in the underworld with Anubis in Egypt. Now, I really like that as a thing. I don't know. Has anyone read the comics in here? Because I really think that they are setting up for potentially going to other mythologies later down the line, especially because they're bringing Tyr in, and we know that Tyr traveled to other realms of gods and things like that, and we saw all of that different sort of artwork on the walls as we're going down, is it the lift or whatever, but there's all of these things that hint to the fact that they know they can move into other mythologies once they're past this. I'd love to see them tackle Celtic gods, I'd love to see them tackle Egyptian gods, I'd love to see them tackle Hindu gods, but that's obviously like modern day, not modern day, it's one of the oldest religions in the world, but religions that could slightly cause offense to anyone, off the table. But when you consider how much gods there are in Hindu, it's like, well, that's like 10 games alone, you know what I'm saying? But it doesn't count. But like, if anyone has read the God of War comics, interestingly enough, Kratos ends up in Egypt. It's after the first 3 games. It's when he's traveling about after the first 3 games, and he ends up in Egypt anyway. So it's very interesting that they've previously had a storyline with Kratos being in Egypt. He doesn't really fight any sort of gods in there, but it is what it is. He kind of fights a god, but it is what it is. So it's very interesting. I think the aesthetic of Egypt would be awesome, and I think that they would deliver on such a good level. Like, they've brought this world to life so well, and everything that you can see in Ragnarok, all these little towns and stuff that they display in the trailer, and all of the life that's bustling around it, and so on and so forth. I would love to see a very modern day gaming approach to Egypt. Because the last time we were in Egypt was for Assassin's Creed. Yeah, no, mythology and religion are different, but mythology it's not mythology. Like, these are gods that were considered gods at some point in time. You know, like the Norse gods, it was a religion. So it's just the fact that it blends into a point in time where it's still a practiced religion, but these were still it still is religion. You know, it's just what's okay to tackle and what's not okay to tackle. And obviously, if it's something that could offend a whole group of people, then we probably don't want to show, like, you know, Kratos versus Jesus, or Kratos versus Vishnu, or anything like that, you know. But it would be interesting, is all I'm saying. Like, you know, I'd like to see Kratos versus Jesus. I think it would be cool, but obviously we can't tackle it. But, you know, even though it's mythology now, it's still, they were religions. The only difference is that another religion came along and said, you're pagans, and stamped out that religion to a degree, which I don't agree with. I generally, like, I don't know about you guys, we're not going to get deep into religious things, but I feel like if I was going to sign up to a religion, I wouldn't mind signing up to, like, Thor and things like that. Like, you know, like, I wouldn't mind praying to the god of thunder and such, like, it's like I don't know why certain religions came along and like, you're heretics and what you believe in is not true, like, you can't believe it. Like, maybe I want the choice to, you know, maybe I want to sacrifice a human every 7 years, like, maybe that should be okay. I don't know. Like, I just feel like people should be given options when it comes to these kind of things. Like, why do I have to pick from all of the current religions? Like, why can't I pick from the old school ones and shit, like Celts and stuff, like, or Norse, or the old African gods, and like, there's so much, you know, there's so much cool stuff. Like, if I'm gonna believe in something, I kind of want to look at what was their teachings more than who won the fight. But I digress, okay? Like, I digress. Where are you gonna pray on a boat with an axe? Maybe! That sounds a lot better than sitting in a church every Sunday. I get to go out on the seas and such, you know? Like, maybe the old religions weren't so bad. Like, I don't know. I think you should be allowed to believe in whatever you want, as long as it doesn't hurt anybody overall. You know, like, I genuinely do. I don't know how we've got onto this. I think I should have left it at Kratos versus Jesus, because that's the main event that everyone wants to see at the next SummerSlam. You know, like. But yeah. It's preference, this, isn't it? And I'm just going with Forbidden West just because I just I just love what they've built. Don't get me wrong, the second I play God of War, I'm going to absolutely love it once again. But just because I'm more intrigued to see what's got... Like, I guess it's this, right? I kind of expect Atreus and Kratos to come out on top. Whereas with Horizon Forbidden West, I don't know what I'm walking into. So that's why it makes it more of an anticipation for me. If we're talking about just like the game I want to play the most on a mechanical level, I think that's Elden Ring, because the satisfaction I will get from completing that game or completing a boss in that game is second to none in all of gaming. You know, you beat something in From Software and you feel this feeling that you rarely feel in gaming. So they all have different appeals for different things. Why can't I sacrifice a human every 7 years? Not just me. I mean, we'd all meet up. We'd go. It seems like a good time. We'd meet up. We'd do some mushrooms. We sacrifice a person and a couple goats and stuff. And then we see each other in 7 years. Like, it's not like, you know, it's not. It's not the end of the world. I mean, it's the end of that person's world, but most of the time the sacrifices are like, I want to go to Valhalla, send me up there. And it's like, they're on board. Let's not get into it, man, because we're going to get into territory in which we should never... We shouldn't... This is nothing to do with the Game Awards. Yeah, I'm back. I'm glad this has been a good time. I hope you've all enjoyed it. It's been very, very fun talking to everyone. We've had our moments. We've had our ups and our downs. We've had our disagreements and our agreements. I think we can all agree that Deathloop is in one too many categories, but it is what it is. Whether it's like, you know, Seb may be completely right, and I'm going to go look into the FAQ and stuff, but I still stand by what they tell you in what the frequently asked questions are and so on and so forth. Like, if it means that you're going to say, oh, well, Microsoft spent $100,000 to put Deathloop in every category or whatever, that's not going to be in the frequently asked questions, you know? So I'm going to look into it and stuff, but I'm telling you from my personal experience from working in the entertainment business that there's award ceremonies that you can buy in and that you're approached and you're asked, we want to put you in this. Do you want to put the cash up so we can put you in this? Like, that's my personal experience. That's what I'm going off of. That's mainly what I go off of when I'm talking about these things. I'm completely fair to put my hands up and say I'm wrong if it so turns out like that. But I just have to ask these questions sometimes and go, well, why does Deathloop pop up in everything when everybody genuinely completely overlooked that game and didn't give it the best reception? It just seems very, very weird to me. You know, that's it. I will be back on YouTube next week for another State of Games. I will be uploading stuff once again. Like, there will be new stuff coming to the channel. As I've said, any feedback on why you watch this channel and stuff, please do let me know, because I'm planning what sort of content I want to put out moving forward into the new year. For now, I'm still streaming on Twitch most evenings, definitely most weekdays, around 7 or 8 p.m. British time. It depends how I feel. Sometimes I like starting a bit earlier, so I've got a bit longer. We've got a couple games to sort of play through, but this month is very much going to be a variety, just chatting. The game isn't the most important thing. It's just keeping the community up. I said this a bit at the end as well of yesterday's stream, especially as we move closer to Christmas and stuff. I really want my streams to be about the community. I know people have tendencies to feel lonely at Christmas. I know people end up being lonely at Christmas. Will I be streaming 12 minutes? Maybe I will. The Game Pass actually works and such on my PC now, and I can run it on my PC. Death's Door is a game I'm going to be sampling. I'm going to be playing a little bit of this as well. In Sound Mind, which is a little bit of a horror game, so I think that's cool. That's something that I've seen has been really overlooked in discussions and stuff in recent times. I also have purchased Far Cry 6. It's not out of the package yet, so we'll give that a little bit of a spin. I'm going to be playing a little bit of Horizon for the Horizon in his Forza Horizon 5. Going to be playing a little bit of that. It's just going to be a big variety month while we just wind down for the end of the year. Nothing too serious, and not committing to any one game so much or anything like that as well, you know. So overall, that's what's going on. And if you want to join me on any of that, it is of course twitch.tv/Bamalam Plays. We'll be doing some Horizon Frozen Wilds as well, and as we build up to getting closer to Horizon Forbidden West, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. There's everything to play for as well. Don't worry, if you are a member of my Twitch, I will be giving out the gifted subs. Ballistics has won the game of the month. If you don't know, over on Twitch now, we use loyalty points, which you can actually gamble. You get more loyalty points for watching, but then you have the ability to gamble them. You have the ability to duel against other people, so you can win some of their points, put them on the line and things like that. Whoever has the most points at the end of the month, I will gift a game to. Whoever has the second place will be gifted subs, and whoever has third place will be gifted subs to the channel as well. So there's actually stuff that we're doing over on Twitch, which means you can actually win some stuff. Final thing. I'm obviously representing GameBite. As we move into the new year, I will have a special Bamalam code which will get you money off on GameBite.com, which will allow you to get a bit of a discount and stuff. But generally, they have some of the best deals when it comes to games online. Just in general, like they do really competitive prices, and they make sure that they can provide things at the best possible price that they can. So stick around, join us. Only by being a part of those Twitch streams are you going to get access, because I'm going to tell you what the code's name is and things like that on there. So please do join us. I think that covers pretty much everything. It's good to be back. You've all made me feel welcomed. I'm a little bit rusty. I'm a little bit touchy in certain points and times and stuff like, but we're leveling it out. And there it is. That is pretty much the stream. Yeah. I will say goodbye. Take care of yourselves. Look out for each other. We shall be back tomorrow evening over on Twitch for some random games. But other than that, we are out of here.